This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Colts running back Zach Moss suffered a broken arm in today's training camp practice. He is second on the team's depth chart behind Jonathan Taylor. The Colts contemplating putting Taylor on the non-football injury list over back pain deemed to be from an injury not sustained while playing for the team. But Taylor said on social media he never had back pain, never reported any pain. Taylor wants out of Indy, but don't expect owner Jim Irsay to grant that trade request, believes ESPN's Marcus Spears.
Now they won't, because he'll flex his muscle as an owner, and he'll let Jonathan Taylor know, I control where you go and what you do in the future, which is what the league has been, but it's damn sure unfair.
ESPN's Adam Schefter reports Broncos receiver Tim Patrick believed to have torn his Achilles in his left leg today at practice. Ahead of tomorrow's MLB trade deadline, the Rays acquired righty Aaron Savali from the Guardians for first baseman Kyle Manzardo. This, according to ESPN's Jeff Passan. Tampa's starting rotation has been in flux. Shane McClanahan, Taj Bradley have scuffled lately. Zach Eflin left his last start with knee discomfort.
Long summer days call for extra hands. Hire fast with Indeed. Their hiring solution helps attract, interview, and hire candidates. Sponsor a job and instantly receive a short list of quality candidates whose resumes match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride.
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Musto. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. A ton to do today. Successful recruiting weekend. Some roster turnover for the New Orleans Saints. Aaron Rodgers getting in the mud pit with Sean Payton. Ton to do, but let's start where we do every day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
All right, so the Bayou Splash was this weekend before recruiting hits the dead period. It was an opportunity for schools to have recruits on campus and have that one last big hoorah going into summer. And it was a really significant weekend for LSU. Some big-time prospects were on campus, and they did end up landing 2 commitments out of the weekend, and both of them on the offensive line. We'll start with the out-of-state player. First was Ori Williams. So this is a big commit, pun very much intended. 6'7", 320. Yo, this guy's going into his senior year. He's 6'7", 320. Now, the interesting thing about Ori Williams is if you go look at the all the star ratings and all that sort of stuff, you go look at the recruiting profile. Like, I'll just pull up On3, for example. Let's just use that one. So, On3 has Ori Williams rated as a 3-star. He is the nationally ranked number 512 overall, the 31st best offensive tackle, and the 92nd player in the state of Texas. You might look at that and go, man, that don't sound too good. And then you look at the thing that I always look at, which is who else about star rating, ranking, all that sort of stuff. This dude came down to LSU, Texas, Texas A&M, Florida, Georgia. That's the list of offers he had that he was considering. I don't care what your star ranking is, where they rank you nationally or positionally. If you had an offer from LSU, Texas A&M, Texas, Florida, and Georgia, you have my attention. And LSU fended off those all of those other schools to land a commitment from Ori Williams. I'm going to come back to him in a second. The other commitment they got is from Joseph Cryer. Now, this is relevant because Joseph Cryer is a kid from Louisiana, and he was committed, operative word, to Ole Miss. So he was an Ole Miss commit who got an LSU offer last week, and then today, Monday, after getting the LSU offer, decided to flip from Ole Miss to LSU. So Joseph Cryer becomes the second offensive lineman to commit to LSU in as many days, bringing the total in this class up to 21 for the class of 2024. We'll run through the stats here on Cryer as far as the recruiting rankings and all that stuff as well. They got him as, again, a 3-star. He is the nationally ranked number 1,008 overall, the 83rd best interior offensive lineman and the 33rd best player in the state of Louisiana. So, again, not a gigantic national prospect when you look at the recruiting rankings and all that stuff, but his offers were LSU, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Michigan State. So a whole bunch of Power 5 teams were in the mix for this guy. And he's a player from the state of Louisiana. Now, I think sometimes when we talk about recruiting, and look, you listen to this show, you've listened to me for any length of time, you know I am not the recruiting guy. I'm not the guru. I'm not the guy that's calling recruits and on the phone and knows what the staff is thinking and who they like, and if this guy's leaning here. I'm basically going to react to stuff when it comes out. If you want recruiting breaking news, I'm not your guy. I've always been very forthright with that. What I will tell you is I think from the periphery, I always laugh because, and this is not just an LSU thing, this is a whoever your school is thing. If you get a 5-star commitment, dude's going to the Hall of Fame. Start carving the statue now. If you get a 3-star, well, he's a diamond in the rough. Our coaches know better. Everyone else passed, and they're stupid. If the other program gets a 5-star, your rival gets a 5-star, he's overrated. If your rival gets a 3-star, it's, man, they stink. All they can get are 3 stars. So I understand that you're always going to frame it through whatever lens that you're looking in, and that's your prerogative. That's any fan base's prerogative. It's how things often go. What I tend to look at is who else offered this player, and did you sign 25, or now it could be more than 25, really good players at positions of need? And then also, what is that coaching staff's track record? And that, for me, especially with the offensive line and Brian Kelly, always gets me excited when they get commitments from offensive line. When I look at Brian Kelly, we've talked about this, y'all. The two positions, you've heard me say it ad nauseum, the two positions that Brian Kelly has pumped into the NFL draft more than any other are tight end and offensive line. When you look at the offensive line, it's not just guys going into the draft. It's like dudes. Zach Martin, Ronnie Stanley, Quentin Nelson, Mike McGlinchey, dudes. And now you look at a year ago, and he gets Will Campbell and Emory Jones, who are starting as freshmen. We saw guys like Charles Turner take a big leap forward. Marlon Martinez. You brought in a transfer in Miles Frazier, who became a starter for you by the end of the season. Yeah, like Brian Kelly knows what skill set he is looking for. He knows what body type, what body style, what skill set, where they're going to fit on the line, how to build depth and mix and match. And so whenever I see LSU take a commitment from a couple of 3-stars on the offensive line, it's probably not going to get you as excited as when they get Will Campbell or they get Lance Hurd, and I understand why. Those are dudes from Louisiana who are 5-stars at the top of the rankings in the country at their position. But ultimately, the question is, do you trust Brian Kelly and Brad Davis to evaluate this talent, to get it on campus, and develop it? And you can see a very, very clear image, a very clear picture of what LSU is doing as it's building depth on the offensive line, because it's not just about getting guys in that are going to be plug-the-gap guys. It's going to be guys that you are going to be able to build and develop through this program. And that's a really exciting thing, because when that happens, you're not going to be as susceptible necessarily to roster turnover and to the transfer portal with some of these guys. For example, I'll spell it out. Like if you look at 2024, okay, and this is going to be interesting. So we know right now you returned 6 of your top 7 offensive linemen from a year ago. So 2023, they're set. You got 5 starters plus Marlon Martinez. That's 6. You add Lance Hurd to that. That's 7. Mason Lunsford, the Maryland transfer, that's 8. Like, you feel good about your group this year. Really good about it. Well, next year, Charles Turner could come back for a sixth season. He could, but he could be gone. Miles Frazier could choose to leave after this season. He's a fourth-year junior, so he could choose to come back for 2024. We'll see what he chooses to do. Garrett Dellinger's in his junior year, so he could be a 3-and-done if he wants, or he could come back for a senior year. Marlon Martinez is a senior, but could take advantage of the COVID year. So those four guys, Turner, Frazier, Dellinger, Martinez, could all be back in 2024, or they could all be gone. So you could be replacing 4 of your top 6 guys with Campbell and Jones returning. Even if you assume all of those guys leave, which I don't think that that's likely, that they all leave, but could, look at what you've been able to do behind them. Kimo Makanaeoli is in his 3rd year on campus now. In 2024, he'll be a 4th-year player. I mentioned Lance Hurd. Next year, he'll be going into his 2nd year, probably be primed to start. Paul Mabinga is a guy that you brought in, 6'5", 305. They want him to grow into that body, a project. Same with Bo Bordelon, who you brought in from New Orleans, was a guy you knew was going to be a project and grow into his frame. You signed Tyree Adams in this class as well, another freshman from Louisiana, 6'7", 300 pounds. You get the point? Like, they've gotten a lot of guys that they say, all right, you're not the 5-star that's ready to play today, but that frame and skill set, I can develop you that by the time you're in year 3 and 4, you're an all-SEC caliber player. And because you have ties to Louisiana like Bo Bordelon does, you're more likely going to stay and grow and develop. Like, I mean, the kid we just talked about who committed today. And when you look at Joseph Cryer, he posted a picture of himself on social media as a baby holding an LSU football. That kid ain't going nowhere. So he'll come down like as soon as he got the offer, he decommitted from Ole Miss and flipped to LSU. If it takes that kid 4 years to get on the field and play and be a starter at LSU, he'll do it. And you've got to feel good about that. So it's not just numbers. It's the skill set of the player you're looking for and how you're building depth that will sustain. As Brian Kelly said, he doesn't want to build through the transfer portal. You want to build through the high school ranks and supplement through the portal. So next year, when the season ends and you're going into spring, if you lose Turner, Frazier, Dellinger, and Martinez, let's say you lose all of them, and you're like, man, we could really use a veteran, experienced player on the offensive line, go pop one out of the portal. And in the meantime, you let all those guys I just talked about continue to grow and develop. And it looks like these two are the next 2, Ori Williams and Joseph Cryer commit to LSU. So that's 4 commits on the offensive line for LSU's class of 2024. A class that just continues to continue to grow. 22 commits now, excuse me. I think it's 21 commits. I have it listed as 22, but for the class of 2024 for the LSU football Tigers and Brian Kelly after 2 offensive line commits on this weekend. All right, it's After Further Review. Glad you're hanging out with us here. As always, our show open brought to you by our friends over at Bud Light, great sponsors of our friend Jacques Doucet's Red, Rock, and Blue softball event that he does, benefiting Louisiana military charities. Tell you all the time as well about Folds of Honor. If you see the camouflage aluminum bottles, make sure you pick them up. Bud Light and Budweiser. The purchase of every one of those, a portion of that sale goes to Folds of Honor. In 13 years, they've raised $21 million funding scholarships for the children of our fallen war heroes. Just such an admirable thing that Folds of Honor does and that Budweiser and Bud Light have been a part of, along with our friends over at Mockler Beverage for the last 13 years. Drink easy in Louisiana with Bud Light. All right, it's After Further Review. Let me knock out a quick break. Saints were back on the practice field today, and there was some roster turnover. Actually, 4 players, 2 out, 2 in. We'll talk about it next, and Maddy Hudak's going to be with us in hour 3 for our Saints Camp Report. Don't you move. It's AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Pluckers, Nicholson, and Bluebonnet Dine-In, Carry-Out, or Delivery. 28 flavors of award-winning jumbo chicken wings, ice-cold draft beer, full-service bar, sports on TV. Y'all, we are into training camp. Do you realize what Thursday is? Thursday's the Hall of Fame game. You have a preseason football game on Thursday. You need a place to watch football this Thursday and all preseason and all season long? Get by Pluckers. Award-winning jumbo chicken wings, a top 10 wing restaurant in America by USA Today, a top 5 sports bar in America by ESPN. Why would you go anywhere else than a place where you can eat award-winning jumbo chicken wings, drink ice-cold draft beer, watch sports on TV. Remember, every Monday, that's tonight, every Monday at Pluckers is all-you-can-eat wings. So pay one low price, eat as many wings as you want all night long at either Pluckers location. School is coming back into session. Students will be on campus soon. Make sure you get on by Pluckers, home of the freshman 15. Pluckers, if you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like Hudco, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Get 3.99% financing on select 2023 models at Corval Toyota in Opelousas. And we also have a large selection of pre-owned inventory. So come on down to Happy Town.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Call 288-8138 or visit reliefwindows.com.
All right, rolling along here. Glad you're with us. Hope you had a great weekend. Wife's birthday was yesterday, so I went down to New Orleans and had a great time. We did all the touristy stuff. We did. We stayed at the Montleon, hung out at the Carousel Bar, went to dinner at Commander's Palace, went to Pato's, did the piano bar. I mean, this was like...
Get a hurricane?
Oh, hell no. Come on.
That's touristy.
No, I get it. We went to the touristy places. Let me put it to you that way, okay? But no, I've so far graduated from drinking a hurricane or a hand grenade on Bourbon Street, any of that sort of stuff. No, like I did drink a lot of whiskeys, though.
There you go.
I mean, it was Knob Creek Rocks, and your boy kept them rolling. I think the guy's name was Jimmy.
Served him up well?
Well, I don't know if he served him up well, but he kept him rolling. I'll tell you that much. So, no, we had a great time. So, E-Rock, my wife, turned, as the piano player at Pato said, she's 30-13. 43.
Oh, okay,
30,
yeah.
30, or as I said, why not 20-23? Like the year.
Hey,
hey. Hey.
This guy went up in the piano guy.
How about that piano guy? All right, it's after further review. Glad you're with us. We'll do around the SEC here in about 15 minutes from right now. Sam Spiegelman will be here in hour 2, national recruiting analyst from On 3. Sam does an awesome job, and I want to talk to him about the Bayou Splash and sort of a recap. Tigers, we talked about in the open there, got a couple of commits, but I did want to sort of recap the whole weekend. There's some big-name prospects on campus, including the kids out of Texas that everyone's keeping an eye on. So we'll do that here to start hour number 2. So the New Orleans Saints are back on the practice field on Monday, first day of full pads. And Dennis Allen, after practice, had this to say about the first day out there in full gear.
Pretty good first day in pads. Good chance to get up there and look at the tape, see what it actually looked like. But, I thought overall, the energy was pretty good. One injury of note, Andrews Pete with a quad. So take a look at that, see where he's at. But other than that, made it out pretty healthy.
Said that Pete's injury doesn't look like it's as serious as what Trey Turner's was a week ago, which is great because Trey Turner's injury obviously ended his season, which kind of led to a bit of a roster flurry today. There were 4 players that had some roster turnover today, 2 out and 2 in for the New Orleans Saints. Let's start there on the offensive line. I guess just that's the most pressing and most relevant right now. But so we know last week on Tuesday, the Saints brought in 2 players for workouts. They brought in Trey Turner, and they brought in defensive lineman Kyle Phillips. Well, they didn't sign Kyle Phillips. They did sign Trey Turner. Now, in signing Trey Turner, they released Coda Martin. Well, now Trey Turner's injury, he's done for the year. The Saints have re-signed Coda Martin. A little bit of a background here on Martin, if you don't recall. Coda Martin, and it's Coda, K-O-D-A, Coda Martin. He, you might remember the name because he played collegiately at Texas A&M. It's kind of an odd name, so you'd recognize it. But Coda Martin he started his collegiate career at Texas A&M and then transferred and finished his collegiate career at Syracuse. He went undrafted back in 2019 as an undrafted free agent. And then in 4 NFL seasons, he's played in 1 game, and it's been 4 snaps. He played 4 special team snaps with Arizona a couple of years ago. That's it. So he's mostly been a guy who's lived that life of being signed and cut and signed to a practice squad and being a bit of a journeyman. And he was a guy that the Saints looked at and brought in for a workout for depth. And it's, again, you wonder why you always do these workouts. This is why. This is why you keep updated. This is why you keep updated charts and files and scouting reports on players, because when somebody goes down, because inevitably somebody is going to go down, who do you call? Well, you call the guy that was here last week that you worked out, that you know if he's good and can play or not. So that's part of it. Now, specifically at offensive guard, Coda Martin's an interior offensive lineman. Remember, you've got Andrews Pete, you've got Cesar Ruiz. You've also got Calvin Throckmorton, and you drafted Nick Saldiveri, the 4th rounder out of Old Dominion. That's 4 right there. You've still got, by the way, Lewis Kidd and Mark Evans. And remember, last week, you also signed Max Garcia. So you have a glut of interior offensive linemen. I am not in any way expecting that Coda Martin is going to make this team. It would be an upset if he did. The disappointment with Trey Turner's injury is Trey Turner is a guy who at 30 years old has a ton of skins on the wall, and this was his 5th year and his 5th team in as many years. But he's a guy that you could say, hey, look, Cesar Ruiz, Andrews Pete, if you ain't rolling, or if one of you gets hurt, which Andrews Pete got hurt again today because Andrews Pete gets hurt, and you have a guy who's been to 5 Pro Bowls, and you can say, hey, man, get in there and roll. I'm not saying that Trey Turner was a guy that I was expecting could give the Saints 17 starts and play at an all-pro level. Those days are probably past him. But if Andrews Pete hurts his quad because Andrews Pete gets hurt, and you need someone to roll in there, who's a better option, Calvin Throckmorton or Trey Turner? Well, I don't know the answer today, but go battle that out in camp and let's find out. Well, you don't have that option anymore with Trey Turner. So what it does is it really just limits you to saying, all right, it's Throckmorton. Unless if Nick Saldiveri can step up, have a huge camp as a rookie, and win that job, which maybe he can, but we'll see in time. They're very high on that young player. So Trey Turner injured, done for the year, IR. They signed Coda Martin. Most likely that is a camp body. That's a camp body, and it's someone who a player you're familiar with, who knows your organization, who knows your offense, who they can have sort of a seamless transition into back into the offense for training camp. Now, defensively, this is a bit more interesting. Jabari Zuniga, who's a guy that people in this part of the country should remember, announced his retirement. So Jabari Zuniga, oddly enough, had a chance to interview Jabari Zuniga years ago at SEC Football Media Days. He played collegiately at Florida, and then was drafted in round 3 by the Jets in the COVID year. He played 2 years with the Jets, and then last year played for both the Seahawks and the Saints. He played 1 game with the Saints a year ago. And he played in his first 2 seasons, played 11 games with the Jets, and then sort of danced around a little bit. But again, he announced his retirement from football. So Jabari Zuniga's NFL career is over, and that led the Saints short a defensive end. So they went out and signed Kyle Phillips. Again, Kyle Phillips, who they worked out just last Tuesday, along with Trey Turner. So I know that's a lot of connect the dots and 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but I think you follow me here. Last week, the Saints worked out Trey Turner and Kyle Phillips. They signed Turner. Turner gets hurt. They re-signed Coda Martin. Now Jabari Zuniga has retired. They signed Kyle Phillips, who they had here a week ago working out for him, so they had an updated file on him. I hope Kyle Phillips does not make this team. And I don't mean that to be anything personal toward Kyle Phillips. This is a guy who, oddly enough, Zuniga, who is a Florida guy, retires. Phillips, who's a Tennessee guy, comes in. So Florida guy out, Tennessee guy in. But, I hope you don't need Kyle Phillips. Because look at what you have right now at defensive end. And he's Kyle Phillips, 6'4", 275. So he's a Cam Jordan-like build of a defensive end. You got Cam on one side, and you got Peyton Turner, who's apparently playing well in this camp, right? So 2 first-round picks at defensive end, which is how you hope that ends up. You want Peyton Turner to win that job. Carl Granderson, who's been a good player for you. If he's not your starter, then he gives you great depth because that's a guy who's been a productive player for you throughout his NFL career. So Cam, Peyton Turner, and then if after that you're looking at Carl Granderson and maybe Isaiah Foskey. Foskey's a guy you just used a high second-round pick on, right? And Granderson's a guy that's played a lot of football for you since he came into the league. As a matter of fact, last year he played in 16 games with 4 starts. So in his career, he's played in 54 games for the Saints with 7 starts. Granderson has. He's been a very good rotational piece for you at defensive end. But you would love it if your former first-round pick wins that job. Cam, Turner as your starters, Foskey, Granderson as your backups, and then maybe Tano Passanio, who can also help you in special teams. Remember, he's kind of, as such a big, long dude, he's really good at blocking kicks. That's kind of his MO. You put him in the middle, put his hands up, he can block kicks for you. So I would love it if that's your defensive ends and you don't need Kyle Phillips. If you need Kyle Phillips, I would say that's more of an indictment on your defensive line if you need Kyle Phillips on this team. But you bring him in. He's played in 15 games. He started 4 games as a rookie with the Jets. And maybe this is a guy who comes in and is at a point in his career where he's ready to take off. That's not likely the scenario. He's probably a camp body like Coda Martin on the other side of the ball. But you bring him in for competition, and you hope that your veterans and the guys that you've invested a lot of draft capital in end up winning those jobs. So Saints camp is not even a week old yet. They haven't even been on the practice field for 7 days. And you've already lost Trey Turner for the year. And today you had 4 roster spots, 2 players out, 2 players in. And as this continues to develop, we'll keep you posted. But 2 new guys to keep an eye on, Coda Martin and Kyle Phillips joining the Saints here on the first day of full pads. All right, it's After Further Review. Monday show is brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank and vinyl siding. They do it all at Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Okay, we'll knock out a quick break, y'all. When we come back, we'll go around the SEC. Sam Spiegelman, national recruiting analyst for On3, will be with us in 30 minutes from right now. And then Maddy Hudak starts hour number 3 with a Saints camp report. So what happened today on the field on the first day of full pads? And supposedly, y'all, Jimmy Graham had himself a day. And when they signed Jimmy Graham, look, I was the biggest Jimmy Graham fan in the world when he was with the Saints the first go-round. Amid a lot of hate from some places. I love Jimmy Graham the first go-round. I didn't see a path really for him to make this team because I don't think the Saints are going to keep 4 tight ends. But if Jimmy Graham keeps having days like he did today, it's going to be hard to cut that guy. So we'll talk about that with Maddy Hudak in hour number 3. Let me knock out a quick break, come back, go around the SEC. Stick around.
AFR.
Love telling you about Hudco Roofing. HudcoRoofing.com. Tell you every day. Do business with someone you know. Y'all, it is storm season, and we have been fortunate so far. We're a day away from August, and we haven't had a storm threaten our coast, which is phenomenal news. But the reality is when we live in the Gulf Coast, we're always going to have that lingering threat. Make sure your home and your roof is prepared. I tell you all the time about a fortified roof. Remember, a fortified roof can save you as much as 52% on your homeowner's insurance. You're looking for ways to save money? A fortified roof can help. Up to 52% on your homeowner's insurance. Give us a call at Hudco. Let one of our inspectors explain the fortified program, what exactly a fortified roof is, and how you can save dramatically on your insurance. Hudco Roofing. HudcoRoofing.com. In Baton Rouge, 364-1007, 364-1007, or go to the website, get the phone number, servicing the entire state of Louisiana. There's an area code for your area. HudcoRoofing.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch on Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Call 288-8138 or visit reliefwindows.com.
Man, it's hot in here. Y'all always complain about how cold it is in here. I'm sweating in here.
This is not normal, though. It's not normally this hot.
I understand that overwhelming majority of people listening to us right now are either outside listening to us like at work or in their cars. And so they're like, what are you complaining about, guy? You're inside. I get it. It's 110 degrees outside. It feels like it's 110 degrees in here right now. And I wouldn't ever make a thing of it, except y'all always complain about how, y'all, everybody else in here always complaining about, you look at Paul Lavin. You know it's true. Everybody else in this company complains about the temperature in this room. Always. Except me.
I mean, yeah, but it's normally really cold. Today it's not.
Ain't cold today. I got nothing to say now, do you, Muse?
No. Well, actually, I'd kind of rather this, though.
I liked it before because I wasn't ever cold. I don't know what y'all talking about. I was never cold in here, which is weird. But it's hot today.
It is warm.
Heat cranking up in Athens, Georgia on the football program as well. Huh?
I'll allow it.
I need a rim shot is what I need. Thank you. Come on now. So when another player got arrested for speeding. And you know what I thought about this? So it's Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, who's defensive lineman. He was going 90 and a 70. Okay. I do that every day of my life. I drive fast. I'm not careless, not reckless, but I drive fast. And you know what? If I get pulled over and they give me a ticket, it's my fault. It's my fault. But so some of the arrests at Georgia, that's a dozen, by the way. It's a dozen arrests for speeding since the national championship. And, of course, it all started the night of their celebration when they had the tragic accident where people died as a result of the speeding accident. Now, some of this is reckless and careless, and there have been reports of street racing and a lot of that. This wasn't that. But the problem, and Kirby said this here was Kirby's quote at Media Days. Kirby said, quote, I'm not going to eradicate speeding. And he's right. Like, you're not going to get your player, no matter how, they've brought in police, they've done a ton of education. You're not going to get people to stop speeding. You're just not. He said, and that's very self-aware. He said, quote, I'm not going to eradicate speeding, but what's going to happen to my program is every time somebody gets a speeding ticket, it's going to be the front page story. If they went and combed over every SEC player and researched them for speeding tickets, they'd find a lot more of them. But when I say we're under a microscope, it's a good microscope because what it's making us do is trying to prevent it. So, but that's very self-aware, but he's right. A player gets a ticket for going 90 and a 70, generally not going to be a big deal. But when it's at Georgia, and now it's a dozen since the national championship, and it literally has all followed a death, yeah, they're going to be under a microscope for it. I don't know what you do, man. In one way, I do kind of empathize because all you can do is what you can do, right? I mean, you could tell them, don't speed. You could bring in police. You could try to coach them up on it and tell them the dangers and explain all of it. But if they don't listen, they get in the car and they go fast. They go fast. They get arrested. They get arrested. I mean, I'm not saying it's okay, but I'd also be hypocritical if I was sitting there saying, oh, those Georgia players driving fast. My hand's in the air. I drive fast every day. Every day. When I take I-10 to work from South Baton Rouge into downtown, and I go fast every day. I'm in the left lane, going to speed of traffic or faster. So just be safe. Buckle up, be safe. All right. It's After Further Review, brought to you by Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service. Oh, I had a great conversation earlier today with my buddy Martin over at Shaw Bills. And obviously, I've talked to y'all about Shaw Bills forever. And I love talking about Shaw Bills because they're a family-owned and operated company with 18 locations now across South Louisiana, and they treat you right. People are always so surprised. You know, you need a tire repair. Like, say you got a slow leak in your tire. You bring it to Shaw Bills, they'll patch your tire. They'll let you just on your way, no charge. And I say that to people like, that can't be true. And then it happens all the time. People will shoot me a message. I brought my tire to Shaw Bills. They fixed it for free. I was stunned. I'm not lying to you. They're great people. They're family-owned and operated. Just Mr. Charlie said, just the way you treat people since the day they opened their doors more than 50 years ago. So you want to work at Shaw Bills, you can. ShawBillsTire.com to apply. Earlier today, I mentioned I was talking to Martin. Great employee benefits. You get weekends off, competitive pay. They have a tool program for entry-level general service technicians. They have bonus opportunities, bonus structure as well. You get a very structured environment. It's a great place to work. It's Shawbills. Whether you're a really experienced auto service technician or just want to learn, they want to talk to you at Shawbills. ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Shawbills, we keep you rolling. Okay, do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, excellence in imaging solutions. The Auburn Tigers.
A 5-star wide receiver, Perry Thompson, has flipped from Alabama to Auburn. The number 40 recruit in the country, the number 4 recruit in the state of Alabama, 6'3", 205-pound receiver. He's now the highest-ranked recruit in the class for Auburn.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Ole Miss football got a commitment from former Clemson linebacker T.J. Dudley. Dudley played in 4 games last year as a freshman, so he maintained his red shirt as a result. He was a 4-star prospect in the class of 2022. He hit the transfer portal after he was dismissed by Clemson. No reason given for the dismissal, just that he violated team rules. 6'1", 230-pound linebacker. He'll now finish his career at Ole Miss.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Arkansas basketball has added a transfer from Southern Miss. Forward Denijay Harris. He initially committed to New Mexico State out of the transfer portal, but now he's headed to Arkansas. He's a 6'7" junior. Had a breakout year last year. 22 starts, averaged 9.6 boards in 24 minutes. In 3 seasons at Southern Miss, Harris has played in 82 games.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Bama baseball got a commitment from Ole Miss transfer Will Plattner. Plattner spent 1 season at Ole Miss and made 2 starts, played in just 7 games. He's a catcher. Alabama does return Matt Gassetti, their starting catcher from a year ago, so it'll be interesting to see where Plattner may fit in.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
And Vandy Deputy Athletic Director Tommy McClellan is set to become the new athletic director at Rice. He previously served as AD at Louisiana Tech and at McNeese State, and he was an athlete at Northwestern State, playing both football and on the track and field team as well. He got that job as the AD at McNeese when he was just 26 years old. So a fast riser in the profession. McClellan has been at Vandy since September of 2020. He'll now be the AD at Rice. Okay, there you have it. That is Around the SEC, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to our guy, Trey Beal, and our friends at Gulf Coast Office Products online at gcopnet.com. gcopnet.com for Gulf Coast Office Products. Face-to-face sales, service after the sale. That's what you always get. Ask about interactive whiteboards. I know I started mentioning those around COVID because that's the way so many businesses stayed online during and after COVID. When they couldn't meet face-to-face with customers or employees or clients around the country, the world. And trust me when I tell you, there is an affordable option among the interactive whiteboards for every size business. If you're a two-person business or 2,000-person business, it's Gulf Coast Office Products. GCOPnet.com. Okay, y'all, it is After Further Review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. We'll knock out a quick break, wrap up hour number 1. I want to update. Last week, we told you that story about Arch Manning doing his first ever NIL deal, where he was doing a one-of-one trading card with Panini. Well, that card did sell for a record price. I'll tell you about that when we come back. And something we haven't done in a long time is a segment we called Best Person in Sports, but I want to highlight something very positive that came out of a great tragedy. And I'll tell you about that when we come back next. Stick around here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Darren James & Associates, brokered by eXp Realty. Every home listed by every company, all in one place, agent225.com. Agent225.com. You know how I tell you it doesn't matter if your home is a $50,000 house or $50 million house. Darren has a way of making you feel like you are his only client. Like, here's a great example of that. I tell you sometimes about $1 million properties that Darren lists. Here's one today that he's got all over his social media. It's in Walker, $204,900, so $204,900. You can own it right now, and Darren's got it plastered all over his social media. And right now, that family is getting a live radio ad all over the southern part of Louisiana promoting their property on Cross Trail in Walker, Louisiana. You can check it out at agent225.com or at any of Darren James's social media. I'm going to tell you, if you want the realtor that sells more homes than anyone, got the systems, the processes, the people in place to get your home sold faster for more money, you need Darren James. 335-7666, 335-7666, or agent225.com.
estate, think Darren James.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Cold in Baton Rouge. Operator, what you put me on through? Gotta send my love down the
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Call 288-8138 or visit reliefwindows.com.
So back in 2019, Peyton Manning's rookie card, autographed rookie card, sold for $71,988.88. That was a record price paid for any Peyton Manning card. Keep in mind, that was in January of 2019. Peyton Manning's Hall of Fame career was already over at that point. His nephew, who has yet to play in a single college football game, just had his first card sell for $102,500. So Arch Manning's one-of-one that he did as an NIL deal with Panini, where it's a one-of-one card. It's the very first ever Arch Manning card. It is autographed, and with it comes the opportunity to participate in a meet and greet with Arch Manning. The winner will catch passes from Arch Manning. And also there will be a check presentation for the proceeds because Arch isn't keeping the $102,500. That $102,500 is going to the Central Texas nonprofit with the help of St. David's Healthcare and St. David's Foundation. So I'll say it again. Said it last week whenever we first saw this story. And I tell you all the time, we'll keep you posted if something updates or advances. We'll keep you updated because, I never want the initial story to gain more traction than a subsequent follow-up or whatever the case may be. So Arch Manning did, in fact, sell that card at auction. That card sold at auction, I should say, for $102,500. All of it, 100% of it, is going to the St. David's Healthcare and St. David's Foundation, which is there in Central Texas. So hat tip to Arch Manning, young guy, but very self-aware, doing a really cool thing with his first ever NIL opportunity, raising 6 figures for charity and setting a record in that respect as well. It also, by the way, this is they did the auction through the Panini website. It didn't just break Peyton Manning's, right? It's not just higher selling the Peyton Manning's. It's the highest selling card ever through Panini's website. The previous record was a 1-of-1 Luka Doncic that sold for $100,000. So Luka, a bona fide established NBA superstar with international superstar, right? Arch Manning, who's yet to play a snap of college football, just broke Luka Doncic's record as well, which I don't really have much context for this, y'all. I can't wax poetic about it. I think you all understand how amazing that is, that this guy has yet to play a snap of college football and has already broken those kinds of records for his memorabilia. Rarity, scarcity, and sort of I would assume also sort of betting on the come. I mean, if Arch Manning does go on to be what many think he can and will be, there's tremendous value there. And, oh, by the way, you helped raise 6 figures for a charity as well. So hat tip to you, Arch Manning. Really cool thing that he did there. And I hope LSU waylays him when they come to Baton Rouge in a couple of years in a conference game. All right, it's after further review. Monday shows are brought to you by Relief Windows. Glad to have you aboard with us here. I told you I wanted to do a best person in sports. And we used to do this segment all the time. And I quite honestly don't know why we stopped. But when we did this segment, it was sort of centered around the idea that there's so much negativity in the news cycle. And I wanted to take a brief moment every day to point out when people were doing something good or positive. And maybe it's my fault just for letting that segment just sort of fade and go by the wayside. But I was reminded of it today when I saw this story. Chris Henry Jr. has committed to Ohio State. Now, the name Chris Henry probably is familiar. Chris Henry was a receiver at West Virginia who had a very checkered time in the NFL. He couldn't stay out of trouble. It ultimately cost him his career and then eventually cost him his life. If you remember, there was a domestic dispute where he was fleeing and fell out of the back of a truck and died due to his injuries. Well, and that was back in 2009. So, I mean, that's been almost 14 years ago. Well, when Chris Henry Sr. died, he left behind a young son, Chris Henry Jr. And Chris Henry Jr. has gone on to do quite well for himself. He's a 6'4" wide receiver for the class of 2026. So he's a rising sophomore and 6'4" as a sophomore. And he is committed to Ohio State. That isn't, though, the part that qualifies this as best person in sports. The part that does is the guardian who oversaw this. And that is Chris Henry's former college teammate, Pac-Man Jones, who himself had his issues during his playing career. But the part of this that I didn't know, quite honestly, is that when Chris Henry Sr. died, when he fell out of that truck in 2009 and died and left behind a young son, Pac-Man Jones adopted his friend's son. Pac-Man Jones is Chris Henry Jr.'s adoptive father. So he adopted this young boy who was the son of his friend, raised him, and now, in no small part because of the fact that he had a father figure in his life and someone who played in the NFL and was able to guide him along this way, Chris Henry Jr. is committed to Ohio State. He'll get to go to college and play major collegiate football and hopefully have a a long NFL career, and here's hoping that his life doesn't take some of the turns that his father's did. But hat tip to Adam Pac-Man Jones, a guy who during his playing career ran afoul of many rules and regulations, and had his issues. But what an awesome thing to do. Amid a tragedy, he gave Chris Henry Sr.'s son, Chris Henry Jr., an awesome shot at a great life, and that young man's taking advantage of it. So salute to everybody involved there. Really cool story out of a tragedy some 14 years ago. All right, it is After Further Review. Sports Center's coming up. We'll get you caught up on national headlines. When we come back, we'll bring it back home. Sam Spiegelman, On3's national recruiting analyst, he'll be with us, put some context around the Bayou Splash this weekend in LSU's growing recruiting class. Stay here.
AFR.
We're brought to you by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge, Ambassador Caffrey in Lafayette. It's a big shout out to all of our friends there in the 337 who are listening every single day. Remember, every single month, they've got great specials at the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. So starting tomorrow, I'll be able to tell you about the August specials. But in the meantime, this is a great opportunity to remind you about hormone replacement therapy. And, for going on 7 years now, I've been a patient of Dr. Howell's over at the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana, and I could not recommend it enough. Hormone replacement therapy isn't going to be for everyone. But one thing that I have learned is undeniably true. Every single one of us ages biologically, and all of us age at a different rate. So whether you're 35 or 45 or 85, if you want to feel like your younger self, a simple blood test can let you know if you're a candidate for HRT. It's safe, it's affordable. You're under the watchful eye of Dr. Todd Howell at the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. TheAntiAgingClinics.com.
Relentless reporting gets results.
I'm never going to stop until we get the answers you need.
Uncovering more as the powerful try to cover things up.
What happens in the dark will always come to light.
Founding new principles and practices for the state of Louisiana.
Chief Investigative Reporter Chris Nakamoto.
Chris Nakamoto and the Investigative Unit. Recipients of Columbia University's prestigious DuPont Award.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walk.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Colts running back Zach Moss broke his arm in today's training camp practice. He is second on the team's depth chart behind Jonathan Taylor. Indy's considering moving Taylor to the non-football injury list over what it says is back pain from an injury not sustained while playing for the Colts. Taylor, who's requested a trade, says he never had back pain, never reported back pain. A couple of win now teams should call the Colts about Taylor, suggests Canty and Carlin co-host Chris Canty.
If you're the Buffalo Bills, if you're the Miami Dolphins, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, how the hell do you not go after a guy that 2 years ago had over 2,100 yards from scrimmage and 20 touchdowns? Jonathan Taylor was an MVP candidate in 2021. That's how good he was. Not just in the running game, but in the passing game, too.
Chris Canty on Greeny. Broncos receiver KJ Hamler, diagnosed with a mild heart irritation, says he'll miss some time, but does intend to be back on the field this season after treatment with medication. That news coming after Denver receiver Tim Patrick is believed to have suffered a season-ending torn Achilles today at practice.
If you need last-minute hires in no time, you need Indeed. Their integrated hiring solution lets you schedule and conduct video interviews all in one place. Finding your next great hire has never been more streamlined. Get hiring at Indeed.com/credit.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
That's right.
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, Matt!
Hey, shut up, kid. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Musso. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. We get our Saints camp update from Maddy Hudak in 1 hour from right now. So if you have to go, make sure you're back in 1 hour to get your camp update. Giant recruiting weekend this past weekend. As we know, it was the Bayou Splash, the final recruiting weekend before the dead period, a star-studded visitor list on LSU's campus, and it was fruitful. LSU picks up 2 offensive line commits. Our buddy Sam Spiegelman, national recruiting analyst for On3, good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Sam, we always appreciate it, man. How are you?
I can't complain, Matt. How about you?
I'm doing really well. All right, big picture takeaway, your thoughts on the Bayou Splash weekend for LSU?
Well, obviously, like you said, you got a couple of commitments, but more importantly, you got at least your full allotment of commitments, and your priority targets have been on campus for the final time, likely before they make their decisions, and if not, going into their senior seasons. In the state of Texas, they're flipping the script. They're getting ready for their seasons beginning this Monday. In Louisiana, they're not far. They've already been starting for most of these programs, so a lot of these kids are in decision mode. If you're not already committed, this was a great opportunity for Brian Kelly, for his entire coaching staff, to get another opportunity with these kids. If they're going to make a decision, LSU did not do a lot of big June official visits. They did for certain kids. They kind of took it on a case-by-case basis. So getting the allotment of kids and the quality of prospects that they did on campus in July, this was their biggest recruiting event of the entire summer.
Yeah. I want to go into the guys that LSU did get committed this weekend. We'll circle back to some of those uncommitted prospects like you talked about. Let's start with the news from today with Joseph Cryer, a kid from Louisiana who is an Ole Miss commit and flipped to LSU. Can you walk us through this one?
Yeah. The previous staff at LSU was very aware of Joe Cryer. He was getting a lot of interest from Nebraska, from Michigan State as an underclassman. He had visited LSU a few times. Area recruiters would stop by, but this summer, as crunch time got closer, he committed to Ole Miss, took an OV to Nebraska, to Michigan State, I think to TCU as well. He committed to Ole Miss, and then the LSU staff continued to do their homework. They obviously had a huge portion of the state's top 2024, 2025, 2026 kids all on campus. Joseph Cryer did not show up, but they were able to reanalyze film. From seeing him as many times as I have the past couple of years, I mean, this kid played on one of the toughest, hard-nosed programs in the state of Louisiana. For Manny, now he's going to be the face of Natchitoches Central over there, a state championship pedigree. I think the staff, they double-checked their board, and they realized they had an SEC quality offensive lineman in their backyard. They got him on campus on Friday with his, former teammate and new commit, Tylen Singleton, and the rest is history.
What about Ori Williams out of Texas?
This is a Brad Davis specialty. Brad Davis offered this kid, Ori Williams, who, has had some off-the-field issues, related to academics, getting kind of accustomed to the varsity level there in Texas. But Brad Davis offered this kid a couple of years ago. I went to see him over there in San Marcos. Obviously had the eyes of Texas, Texas A&M, Georgia, schools across the country, Florida. But Brad Davis continued to be patient with him. He's one of those kids that, doesn't grow on trees. He's 6'7". He's got an 80+ inch wingspan. He's not a big 4 or 5-star name, but for an offensive line coach like Brad Davis, you see the length, you see the physical gifts, and you see the drive behind the scenes. He came and worked out for this staff, continued to progress. And you think with the right, weight program, with the right coaching at his position, down the line in 3-4 years as a potential starter on that offensive line with exceptional length to play a premium position like left tackle.
Sam, Sam Spiegelman's with us on Twitter at Sam Speaks. Can you elaborate a little bit more on Brian Kelly and just the approach he and the staff are taking in recruiting the offensive line?
Oh my God. I mean, well, Matt, you and I have been in this state for a long time, and offensive line for year in and year out has just been a polarizing topic. You have to credit, first off, in the state of Louisiana a couple of years ago when Will Campbell came around, that kind of changed the tune. The offensive linemen do not routinely come out of this state. And when Will Campbell got there, he was a priority for Coach Ed Orgeron. And as soon as Brian Kelly got situated, Will Campbell, not far behind. Then you look with guys like Emory Jones, Lance Hurd. These are nationally recruited offensive linemen that have been, easy gets for LSU. And I say that knowing the extent of their recruitment, they could be national. LSU has locked them in very easily. That's a credit to Brad Davis staying on this staff. He's a Baton Rouge guy at heart. And when you talk to people about Brad Davis, you hear from year to year about coaches that, hey, he could be an offensive coordinator or a head coach. Brad Davis has had those opportunities to take bigger roles at other schools and has elected to stay at LSU on Brian Kelly's staff. That's resonated with the kids, and it has national appeal. He's going into states like North Carolina, Texas, Mississippi. Like I said, Louisiana does not grow offensive linemen like on trees. Will Campbell and Lance Hurd and Emory Jones are exceptions. So he has a national appeal, and he's also locking down the state. And to his credit, he's also been locked dead on a lot of his evals so far.
Sam Spiegelman on Twitter at Sam Speaks, national recruiting analyst for On3. Sam, I don't know that I've ever, you obviously cover recruiting in super detail nationally. I don't know that I've ever heard a recruit leave a visit and go, man, that was just a terrible time. Every recruit, I mean, you're sort of wooed while you're on campus, right? I mean, they roll out the red carpet for high school kids. So of course everybody's going to have a good time. But can you kind of put some, through your lens, some context around the Bayou Splash this weekend with Colin Simmons being on campus, Caden Durham, his teammates, Dominic McKinley, the number one player in Louisiana who's uncommitted. Can you kind of just give us some context of how the weekend went for LSU?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, LSU did not have a really big June in terms of a nationally big official visit weekend. For LSU, they take a different approach. Some schools, and you've seen it, like with Clemson piling up the 5-stars last month. That was a product of a massive June official visit weekend. You've seen it with Florida State and a couple other schools, across the country. LSU took things a little bit different, and in that case, they fell behind with some of these recruitments. Colin Simmons and Dominic McKinley in particular. Two of their priority targets One, obviously, being the number one edge in the country, Colin Simmons from Duncanville, and Dominic McKinley, the 5-star defensive lineman out of their backyard in Acadiana. Dominic McKinley, obviously Jimmy Lindsey is new to LSU. He's replacing Jamar Cain now with the Denver Broncos, and really replacing Gerald Chapman, their GA, who's now the Tulane defensive line coach. That's a big gap for Dominic McKinley to make up with LSU, and as he then took official visits to Ohio State, Oklahoma, A&M, and Texas. In this process, Jimmy Lindsey trying to get him on campus. Frank Wilson has taken a massive role. He's the associate head coach, and for anyone who's listening and doesn't know, I call him the Godfather. He knows this state like the back of his hands, has gotten more involved with recruits like Dom McKinley, like Colin Simmons. I can tell you after this visit, leading into the whole summer, the recruitment around Dominic McKinley has been about the out-of-state schools being front and center, namely Texas, but also a lot of buzz about Oklahoma. I can tell you after this weekend, LSU has closed that gap tremendously. I would say it's an LSU-Texas race right now, and a decision probably isn't too far off. And I think if you're LSU, you have to like where you are compared to where you were this time last week.
Dominic McKinley, the
like Colin Simmons.
No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I think your phone cut up. No, please finish.
Yeah, and then for Colin Simmons, similar story. I mean, he's the number one edge in the country. Obviously, a huge priority in the state of Texas for the Longhorns. After his official visit to Texas, the RPM on 3 started to really favor Texas. People thought that a commitment could be in July in favor of Texas. I can tell you LSU was an early favorite in Colin's recruitment. And after this weekend, it feels like a coin flip between Texas and LSU. There's confidence in Baton Rouge. There's confidence in Austin. A decision could come as soon as August. It could go as deep as December. He's the number one edge in the country, and everyone will wait for him. But I can tell you again, if you're LSU and you were maybe playing behind for a kid from Texas or in June, it seems like a level playing field at least going into August.
On Twitter at Sam Spiegs. Hey, one more for you, kind of a big picture here with LSU. They sit at 22 commits right now, Sam, if I'm not mistaken. It's 21 or 22. There's no more hard cap at 25. Any idea for this coaching staff what that target number is based on who's still available, what positions they'd still like to address?
Yeah, no, I think that that 25-ish number is still pretty good. I mean, look at the target. They have their quarterbacks. They have a couple of spots open for receivers. That their main 2 targets are Dom McKinley and Colin Simmons on the defensive front, and that's obviously a premium position that they're willing to extend. But I also expect that a couple of their guys maybe don't stick until signing day. They've had a couple of commits visit rival schools in the past week. That could open the door, and I could see it being above 25 because they also have to factor in all these transfer portal additions that might just pop up in August after a couple of these fall camp battles.
It never slows down in recruiting season. It was a big one this weekend for LSU there at the Bayou Splash. Sam Spiegelman, make sure you follow him on Twitter at Sam Spiegs, national recruiting analyst for On3 Sports. Great stuff, Sam. Always great to chat, man. I appreciate you.
Yep. Have a good one, Matt.
Oh, man, you do the same. It's after further review, trending in the right direction, man. I don't know how you can't be excited. I mean, you got a hat on the table with Colin Simmons, who's the number one player in the country. He's an edge rusher. You're back in the game for the number one player in Louisiana, 5-star and Dominic McKinley. You're trucking along. Everybody who wondered if Brian Kelly could, I just laugh at people who wondered if Brian Kelly would be able to recruit LSU. Like if you can't recruit LSU, you suck. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like you've got tradition, you've got facilities, you've got budget, you've got an awesome stadium, you're in the SEC, you've got championship pedigree. You walk into the trophy room, there's national championship trophies, there are Heisman trophies, there's national awards. Like, I mean, how anybody thought Brian Kelly wouldn't recruit at LSU is mind-boggling to me. I mean, it's like, I ain't got to be an Olympic diver to hit water when I jump off the board. I mean, just jump in. All right, it's after further review. Thanks to Sam Spiegelman. Does great work. And I don't mean to minimize the work that the staff is doing. They're doing great. Obviously, I mean, they grind and they work so hard, and you keep your board. And it's not even just the on-field staff members. I mean, it's the off-field guys, Sherman Wilson and all those guys who work so hard, do so much, the off-field staff that are working on recruiting as well. But, man, it's just, yeah, those guys work so hard, but you have a story. You have such a great story to tell at LSU. I'm more just laughing at the people who thought Brian Kelly. You just thought Brian Kelly would come in and just recruit 2 stars? That LSU would just turn into McNeese? Respect to McNeese. But what are we talking about here? All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break. Maddy Hudak in 45 minutes. We'll get your camp report from today. I do want to talk about one position in particular where I think the Saints need to add, and there's a player that I think they should target. I'll tell you who that player is next on AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Clegg's Nursery, 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Find the location nearest you. Seaganeer Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Had a great night last night. It was Erica's birthday, as I mentioned, and so around dusk, we all got in the pool. Me, Erica, and Drew went outside, and you know what we didn't have around dusk outside? Mosquitoes. Y'all, I've never had my home sprayed. I've never had some professional mosquito company or anything come out. All I do is I go to Clegg's and I get the Aeon Mosquito Barrier. It's $24.99. It's a little box. It's rectangular. There's 2 tubes in it with some granules. Fill it up to the water line, shake it up, hang it on your property line. You're done with mosquitoes 90 days at a time. It's that easy. And if it doesn't work for you, and you're out $25. But it has worked great for me. It's at Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local, Clegg's Nursery.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Rev Business started small in 1935. We built our reputation by providing hometown service with Louisiana hustle. For nearly 90 years, we've expanded across our great state, through the swamps and across the Mississippi, bringing fiber optics from the capital to the North Shore and down the bayou to the coast, all to connect your business with the world. Rev is about big business technology with small business personal service, powerful solutions, unmatched local service. Rev Business.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best.
Purchase your tracks today.
after further review with Matt Moscona. Presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Call 288-8138 or visit reliefwindows.com.
There is a free agent that I think the Saints should sign. I'll tell you who it is in just a quick second. Real quick, though, Dennis Allen today after practice talked about Brian Brzee, the first-round draft pick. And this is exciting, man. It's a position that the Saints needed to address. They did with their first overall pick. They got a guy that you feel like they got great value, that but for some of the issues he had, injuries and a personal situation with the passing of his sister, probably is a top half of round one guy, but you feel like the Saints got great value. And so far, according to the head coach, so good on Brian Brzee.
Overall, I've been impressed with him in terms of his explosiveness, his quick twitch. There's some suddenness inside, some pass rush ability inside that, I don't know that we've had, in terms of the way that we've had some great power rushers, but I don't know that we've had the suddenness, the burst, the twitch, some of those things that we have.
I mean, he's that dude. We all know Brian Brzee was the number one overall player in the country when he was coming out of high school, went to Clemson at a time where Clemson was, playing for the national championship, every year, 1 to 2 out of 3 years, and just ran into some roadblocks. Man, a guy who would never really be. He's Mason Smith. I mean, it's the best comp. He's Mason Smith, this big freak show that everybody wanted and was never injured in his career, had a knee injury, cost him a season. It was just disappointing. But as a result, the Saints were able to get a guy they think they got great value. Now, Brzee, first and foremost, because everybody's wondering, considering some of the injuries he had in college, how does he feel? And Brzee said no issues whatsoever.
I feel, healthy, really healthy right now. And, it's been a while since I felt really, really healthy. So, it feels great. So, yeah, I feel fast, just feel good.
And then it was also, because that is such a position of need, the Saints lost all of their interior players into free agency. Of course, they signed 2 players in free agency. And you draft Brzee where they did, the expectation he needs to go play immediately. He asked if there's pressure there to do just that.
I wouldn't say pressure, just kind of, I think I put more pressure on myself than anything from the outside, just to, live up to what, I have in mind for myself rather than, outside pressure and that kind of stuff. So, I think a lot of it just kind of comes from inside for me.
So one more, by the way, and I do think this matters. And I think, I really think the fact that the head coach is a defensive guy who's been a defensive coordinator will help the acceleration of that growth and development and understanding of the defense. Brzee was asked how comfortable he is in the defense, considering, remember, you had rookie minicamp, you had OTAs, you had minicamp, and now you're into training camp. So at this point, how comfortable is he with what they're asking him to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this level you kind of, have to rely on technique. So it can't really be as much instinct as maybe beforehand in my career. So, just learning the defense is obviously very, very important. Every little step matters on the D-line. Everything happens so quick. So just trying to really understand it. Once you kind of understand where everyone's coming from, what's going on, that can kind of really help slow the game down and give you a better understanding of what to expect. And so that's been a big part of just kind of what I've been trying to focus in on in this camp, just, really understanding the defense and really working on my technique.
If you want something measurable to say, okay, what is realistic for Brian Brzee in year one, look at the last time the Saints drafted an interior defensive lineman in round one, and it was Sheldon Rankins. Now, they took Rankins at a higher spot than they did Brzee, but Rankins in year one played just 9 games. Played just 9 games due to injury. But in his second year, when he was healthy, Rankins played the full 16 games at the time, and in that season ended up with 26 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. The Saints aren't, the way their defense is structured, they're going to look at Demario Davis and Pete Werner as guys they expect to be 120 tackle guys. They don't need Brian Brzee to have 90 tackles from the interior of this defense. What you need is to be disruptive and to eat up blocks to free up Davis and Werner to go make plays. So I look at what Rankins did in 2017, his first full season. It was year 2, but it was when he was healthy. And I say that's a really good target for Brian Brzee. Can he play a full season? Most importantly, stay healthy, play a full season. Can you give me 30 tackles, 5 TFLs, a couple of sacks, and free up DeMario Davis and Pete Werner to have a great season, and you know that Foskey and Jordan and Granderson are the guys that are going to bend the edge and probably make the TFLs and put up the big sack totals. But that's more what I'd say I'd look for as a realistic year one expectation for Brian Brzee. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Traction Sports, TractionSports.com. This Thursday is the Traction Flag Football Draft. It's going to be right here in our studio. I know, I learned this several years ago. The kiddos, and maybe even more than the kiddos, the parents care so much about the team because it's like, are you going to be the Tigers or the Hurricanes or the Ducks or the Crimson Tide or the Bulldogs? Basically, it's all the colors of the college teams and everything. So who are you going to be playing for? Are you going to be the Longhorns? So this Thursday, we're going to do the Traction Flag Football Draft here in studio. But most importantly, look, they got like 100 flag football teams. So if your son or daughter wants to play flag football, it's co-ed league. If your son or daughter wants to play flag football, get him. It's Drew Brees' F&A, Football in America League. It's at Traction. They host it. Make sure you register your son or daughter for this fall for flag football. Turf fields out there at Traction, so the games aren't going to get rained out because rain floods the field. It's just an awesome facility, which is a great resource and asset in our community. Like, just if you want your kid to play flag football, you go to Traction. It's just what you do. TractionSports.com, TractionSports.com. Traction, where champions are made. Before Saints training camp started, Mickey Loomis acknowledged that the roster probably wasn't done yet. Give a listen.
There's probably a couple spots I don't want to identify them. There's a couple that I wouldn't mind, having another player that has played in the NFL, but nothing glaring that I'm losing sleep over.
Okay. Nothing glaring he's losing sleep over, but a couple of spots he'd like a player that's played in the NFL. Basically, what he's telling you is he wants a veteran. Not a rookie, not a UDFA, someone who's played in the league that they know can strap it up on a Sunday and contribute. The most obvious position is linebacker. DeMario Davis is a freak show, but he's in his mid-30s. Pete Werner has been a super productive player in his young career, but he's also battled injuries. Last week, when DeMario Davis met with reporters, he was asked about the depth at linebacker. Here's what he said.
We got a good group of guys in the locker room. I know a lot of praise goes to me and Pete, but we got some other guys who've been here and put in a lot of work. Andrew Dye, who's been phenomenal, providing depth for a long time. I think he's entering his 5th season here. Zach Bond has been phenomenal. We got some young guys who haven't hit the field as much, but look very explosive and smart guys and definitely putting in the work. Nephi, D-Jack. So I think we're in good hands in that room.
Who am I to question the man of God? I love DeMario Davis. He's the greatest free agent signing in Saints history. I love DeMario Davis. Okay? But all he did there was just list guys that are his teammates. And losing Caden Ellis is really significant because he had emerged into being an awesome player. Obviously, I should say the greatest free agent signing outside of Drew Brees. Like, could we just acknowledge, Drew Brees is okay. And then people often say about Vilma, but Vilma was actually a trade, but there's a lot. You understand. I don't know that I need to clarify, but let's clarify just so I don't get emails. How could you say? You get it. Anyway. He mentioned Zach Bond. Zach Bond, it's fair to say, has been a disappointment. In large part because he just doesn't fit this defense, what they want him to do. But Zach Bond was asked if he felt like it's his time, finally, to emerge in this defense.
It is my time. It's been my time. It's time to go, and I got to step up to the challenge and do what I do.
Okay. I'm not betting that it's going to happen for Zach Bond. And when I mentioned Pete Werner, as a rookie, played in 15 games. Remember, they drafted Pete Werner. Quan was here. And I think that's kind of the big thing. Quan was here. Remember, in the COVID year, they traded for Quan Alexander. And Quan and DeMario Davis had a great tandem. And then on Christmas Day against the Vikings, Quan ruptures his ACL, and he's out for the remainder of the season. Did a hell of a job getting himself ready for the start of 2021. But then injured his elbow and missed a bulk of that season. But that was Pete Werner's rookie year, and Werner ended up playing in 15 games with 8 starts, had 62 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and showed he was a really good player. It's one of the reasons they were willing to part ways with Alex Anzalone. They felt like they had bodies there. And then last year, Pete Werner played in 12 games with 11 starts. But again, the problem has been he hadn't been able to stay healthy for a full season. If he can, I'm fired up about it. I think he's a legit starter, the great 1-2 punch with DeMario, but you have to ask the question if he can stay healthy. He hasn't shown he can do it. So if he can, great, but we got to see it. Remember where we started, where Mickey Loomis said he wants to add guys who have played in the NFL. And for me, I think there's an inside linebacker available that you have to go get, or you have to kick the tires and pick up that phone call. I'd be stunned right now, quite honestly, if he didn't. And that's Zach Cunningham. Zach Cunningham, if you remember, played at Vanderbilt, and he was a tackling machine, like leading the SEC in tackles. He was a second-round pick of the Houston Texans when he came out of Vanderbilt back in 2017. And he immediately exploded in the NFL. As a rookie, played all 16 games, had 90 tackles. His first 4 seasons in the league, here were Zach Cunningham's tackle totals his first 4 years in the NFL. He went 90, 107, 142, 164. Just kept on ascending to be one of the best linebackers in the NFL. And Houston ends up giving him a 4-year, $58 million contract. Total dude, tackling machine, defensive leader right in the middle. They give him a giant contract. They guaranteed him $23 million at signing. He got $32.5 guaranteed in the deal. And Houston was a complete and total dumpster fire. Who was the guy that coached them last year? What was that guy's name? Do you even help me out? What was the Texans coach? What was that guy's name? The old guy that was just a sacrificial lamb. It was, to tell you how bad it was, like, I don't even remember that dude's name. Please look it up. I totally forgot his name. But they bring in this dude that they know they're just going to coach for a year. They're going to tank. They're going to draft a quarterback. They were hoping to get one overall. Ultimately, they end up with C.J. Stroud. Well, Cunningham violated team rules, and they ended up cutting him. So they eat the $32 million they guaranteed him. He ends up signing with Tennessee for the remainder of the year last year. And now he's a free agent again and still unsigned. Who was it?
Lovie Smith.
No, not Lovie.
In 2022. And then it was D'Amico Ryans
No. Before, the year before.
David Culley.
David Culley.
2021.
Culley's the one who suspended him. He was suspended with David Culley there in 2021. That's when they traded him or they cut him, and then he signed for the rest of the season with Tennessee. Culley is who I was thinking of. So he goes to Tennessee. He finishes the year last year there, plays in 6 games a year ago after he was out, and then they cut him, and now he's a free agent. So I just can't believe that a guy who 2 years ago had 164 tackles, 3 years ago, in 2020, the COVID year, and then in 2021 plays for 2 different teams and still has 93 tackles, is just his career's over at 27 years old. If anything, what I would say is you have an opportunity to bring a young veteran who's an incredibly talented player into a place with good culture, which did not exist in Houston. Like, Houston has been a total dumpster fire since that kid was drafted. Okay, they hired David Culley just to fire him, and then hired Lovie Smith just to fire him. Like, they're a disaster in Houston. And you have a guy that's a young veteran, so a really talented player, at a position of need that you can get affordably because he's sitting on the street right now. And because he only played in 6 games last year, he's probably at a point where he's healthy. He's still not 30 years old. And you can give him an opportunity at a resurgence. The Saints need another linebacker. You can't go into this season with DeMario Davis, Pete Werner, who has not shown he could play a full season, and then Zach Bond, Nephi Sewell, Andrew Dowell. Like, you have to give me somebody else who is an NFL veteran who's proven he can do it. And I think Zach Cunningham's the guy. If they haven't made that call yet, they need to. All right, it's after further review. We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center, williamsoneye.com. Call 924-2020, 924-2020. You want to see 2020, call 924-2020. No matter where you are in the state of Louisiana, you want to see the best, go to the best, the Williamson Eye Center. 76 years in business, the Williamson Eye Center, or more than 70 years in business. Hey, look, school's right around the corner. A lot of kiddos are going to be starting in the next week or two. Make sure your kiddo has that eye exam before the school year. Right now at the Williamson Eye Center, they got a BOGO. Buy one, get one 50% off on glasses and contacts before the school year. Go get that eye exam at the Williamson Eye Center. Call 924-2020, 924-2020, or williamsoneye.com. Okay, it's after further review. Aaron Rodgers clapping back at Sean Payton. That's next, AFR.
AFR.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
after further review with Matt Moscona. Presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Call 288-8138 or visit reliefwindows.com.
Man, you saw Pee Wee Herman died?
I did see that.
Dang, man.
I didn't know he was 70. I actually thought he was younger than that.
Rip. Word of the day. Wouldn't that call it the word of the day?
The word of the day.
Or the secret word? What do they call it?
The secret. That was good.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
That was a pretty good Pee Wee Herman.
There's a couple of impressions that I actually can do fairly well. I think for oddly, Pee Wee would be one of them. However, save your jokes about what Pee Wee did in the theater that time of the day. Okay, save your jokes.
Yeah.
Not interested in those jokes. Talking about doing a Pee Wee, a vocal Pee Wee impression. It's not for sale, Francis. That wasn't very good. You ever see Pee Wee's Big Adventure?
No.
You never seen Pee Wee's Big Adventure?
No, I didn't really watch Pee Wee Herman when I was a kid.
Paul, have you seen Pee Wee's Big Adventure?
I have, but it's been a really long time.
Man. God. You just cut me off at the knees, both of you.
Sorry.
You cut me off at the knees. Can't talk about it then. You need to see Pee Wee's Big Adventure. The Alamo. Terrible movie. A great terrible movie.
Why don't I watch it then?
Because there's a lot of movies that are terrible, but they're great because of how awful they are.
That is true. That is true. I mean, that's really good. That is really good.
Hey! So last week, Sean Payton took a shot at Nathaniel Hackett. Said he was defending his quarterback, Russell Wilson. Said it was what did he call it? He said it was the, quote, one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL, what Hackett did last year in Denver. Really, he was going to bat for Russ. It's what he was doing. But he took a shot at Hackett, and then he starts taking a shot at the Jets this year for all the promos and the hype and whatever. Then Robert Saleh claps back at Peyton. Peyton's like, yeah, I still have my Fox hat on, which is true, man. Like, when you step out of the shadows of being a coach, where everything is muzzled, and now you're paid to be honest and give opinions, and you want to get attention for what you say, it's hard to turn that off once you've had that freedom. So Sean Payton learned that. Anyway, a story that we all just figured would die until they play Week 5 in Denver. The Jets go to Denver in Week 5. It got new life because Aaron Rodgers was talking to NFL Plus, right? Like NFL Network Plus or something like that. Anyway, and Aaron Rodgers had to jump in. Here's what he said.
Yeah, I love Nathaniel Hackett, and those comments were very surprising. For a coach to do that to another coach, my love for Hackett goes deep. He's arguably my favorite coach I've ever had in the NFL. Just his approach to it, how he makes it fun, how he cares about the guys, just how he goes about his business with respect, with leadership, with honesty, with integrity. And it made me feel bad that someone who's accomplished a lot in the league is that insecure that they have to take another man down to set themselves up for some sort of easy fall if it doesn't go well for that team this year. Thought it was way out of line and inappropriate, and I think he needs to keep my coach's names out of his mouth.
Aaron was doing so good at the beginning of it. You know what I mean? Like, he started off so good. It was why he loves Nathaniel Hackett. Favorite coach ever played for, the respect, he was so on point. But then you could feel it was like a boulder rolling downhill. You know, it starts slow, and then it just and then it starts gaining, and then it's full on just like look out below, because when it hits the little village of stick houses at the bottom, it's going to obliterate everything. Toothpicks down at the bottom. And then basically, Aaron Rodgers became Will Smith.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth!
Give me Rodgers again. Give me Rodgers.
The whole thing?
No, just the end!
Hey.
Oh.
He needs to keep my coach's names out of his mouth.
Give me Will.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth!
I have a question.
All right, what's your question?
Okay. Will Smith isn't the first person ever to say, keep my wife, coach, or name out your mouth, right? But he's certainly made it more famous than it's ever been. Are we going to embark culturally into an era where that becomes common nomenclature, like when LeBron decided he was going to take his talents to South Beach?
Take my talents. It could be. And, I mean, obviously, just the absurdity of that whole Will Smith, Chris Rock thing is what skyrocketed that.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, that was because it was all just so dumb.
I mean, he slapped a man on live television.
Yes.
But anyway, don't lose the point. The point is, July 8th, 2010 was the decision. I remember it because it was my birthday. July 8th, 2010, when LeBron said, this is tough, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. Before that, nobody ever said I'm taking my talents to anywhere.
No one said that.
Now it's part of our vernacular. Recruits going to take their talents to, free agents going to take their talents to, sixth grade baseball players or basketball to AAU taking their talents to this, whatever. Everybody says I'm going to take my... That started with LeBron July 8, 2010 at the decision. I'm wondering if Chris Rock, or Will Smith, is going to have had a similar cultural impact with keep my blank's name out of your mouth. Keep my fill in the blank's name out of your mouth.
I think so. I mean, I think you're seeing it.
Hit Rodgers again.
With Rodgers.
Hit Rodgers again.
Out of line, inappropriate, and I think he needs to keep my coach's names out of his mouth.
Give me Will. Hit it.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth!
It's all right, Muse. 4:46, but 26 minutes in, the reaction time starts getting a little slower. Right?
You think Aaron Rodgers has ever open hand slapped somebody before?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
No, maybe not. He's a pacifist. It's from Berkeley. Ain't nobody out there. I mean, like at Berkeley, they just go hang out up in the trees to try to make sure they don't cut down the trees to expand the stadium.
That's true.
Remember that?
Yeah, that did happen.
I remember watching a game at Cal where there were literally students hanging out in the trees to make sure that people didn't cut down the trees to expand the stadium. What do you think the aliens think about that when they come down here? What?
That's
should make the trees? What?
Those are the people they're looking to abduct and probe the brain.
And those are the people that are willing to be abducted.
That's also true. That's very true. It's another reason they climbed the tree.
It's after further review. Muse left Tigers and the Pros to wrap up the hour next.
AFR.
Brought to you by the Renaissance Hotel and the Watermark Hotel, two amazing hotel properties in the Baton Rouge area. The Watermark downtown, the Renaissance Southtown. The Renaissance is a 5-diamond hotel right there on Bluebonnet. Amazing property. More suites than any other hotel property in Baton Rouge. The Renaissance Hotel, though, not just for, where you let your mother-in-law or your family stay when they're in town. It's also amazing for, I said a 5-diamond hotel. It's a 4-diamond hotel, excuse me. I don't think they have 5-diamond hotels. But if they did, the Renaissance would be one of them. But it's amazing for so many other reasons as well. Of course, tell you about Tallulah all the time. The casual upscale dining. Go to Tallulah and get the pork chop. Just trust me, go to Tallulah for lunch tomorrow or dinner tonight, get the pork chop. Trust me, you'll thank me. Chef Jason's done an awesome job curating that menu. It's at the Renaissance Hotel right there on Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Call 288-8138 or visit reliefwindows.com.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2. Muse, did you just FaceTime me? I have a FaceTime video from Musso and Paul O'Neill.
I did not FaceTime you.
Maybe that was Drew trying to FaceTime me all from my old phone.
Could have been.
He has my old phone that he uses like as a toy. It doesn't have a data plan on it or anything like that, so he can hit the buttons and all. It still shows up on my call log. He called Terrio 14 times the other day. Now, it didn't ring through, right? But he's just hitting the buttons, like thinking he's doing it. It's a good thing it doesn't work. Otherwise, he'd be blowing people up all day. All right, Musso, Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now. Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, where Baton Rouge gets engaged.
We've got some transactions to get to before baseball today, so let's start in the NBA. Adrian Wojnarowski, Woj, reporting that free agent forward Garrett Temple has agreed to a 1-year, $3.2 million deal with the Toronto Raptors.
Had a babe, G-Temp.
Came from Mark Bartelstein, told ESPN that, per Woj. Temple spent the past 2 years, of course, with the Pelicans, but this will be his 14th season in the NBA.
That boy G-Temp. Happy for him, man. Wish it was in NOLA, but I get it.
In NFL transactions, Danielle Hunter, his holdout is done. He has reached a deal with the Minnesota Vikings. 1 year, worth up to $20 million for Hunter. $17 million of that guaranteed sack incentives could make up the final $3 million of that deal. He's looking at over 70 sacks so far in 120 in over 100 games, I should say, is Hunter. It's been a very, very fruitful career in the National Football League. Deion Jones has a new home as well, and it's in the NFC South. He is going to the Carolina Panthers, of course. Spent the majority of his career in Atlanta in the NFC South, traded to the Browns, and now will end up back in the NFC South with the Panthers. 28 years old, 88 starts, 96 career games, 11 sacks, 12 interceptions for Debo. Major League Baseball from yesterday. Jake Fraley, 3 for 4 in the Reds' shutout of the Dodgers. 1 double, the rest singles, but 14th double in the year, an RBI and a run scored for Fraley. 269 on the season, 62 RBI to lead the Cincinnati Reds. That is Tigers in the Pros.
Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, LMFJ.com. Gentlemen, if you're thinking of popping the question, go where the entire state of Louisiana has gone to get engaged for 40 years. 2 locations in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lafayette, Shreveport, and online at LMFJ.com. If they don't have the exact ring you want, they'll custom make it for you. No matter your budget, check out our friends at Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. You always get the Lee Michaels experience. LMFJ.com. LMFJ.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. So we, about 30 minutes ago, did the segment about the Saints needing to add a linebacker, and I said Zach Cunningham is who I'd like for them to sign. A lot of people were bummed about Quan Alexander signing a free agent deal with Pittsburgh, thinking that, but the Saints showed you their hand with Quan. Like, they offered him a contract, he couldn't stay healthy, they moved on, and that's okay. Debo would have been the more reasonable option, but with him off the board now, go sign Zach Cunningham. Make that call. All right, it's after further review. Sports Center coming up right after national headlines. Maddy Hudak is here for a Saints camp report. Stay with us. It's AFR.
AFR.
Wrapping up hour number 2, remind you about Michelli Weighing and Measurement, Michelli.com, Michelli.com. So appreciative to everybody who's given our friends over at Michelli a call. I know so many of you, whether you're farmers in the ag business, whether you work in the chemical or petrochemical industry, or wherever you might work, so many of you use Michelli, or you've recommended to a foreman, a supervisor, a manager that you call Michelli. One of the things about Michelli that makes them stand out, and has made them stand out for 76 years now, is the fact that they'll do business face-to-face. Despite the fact that they have grown to more than 30 offices in 11 different states, Michelli Weighing and Measurement still prides themselves on being locally owned and operated and doing business face-to-face. They'll come shake your hand. You have machinery that needs to be calibrated and can't leave the facility, mobile calibration. It's Michelli Weighing and Measurement, online at Michelli.com.
Relentless reporting gets results.
I'm never going to stop until we get the answers you need.
Uncovering more as the powerful try to cover things up.
What happens in the dark will always come to light.
Founding new principles and practices for the state of Louisiana.
Chief Investigative Reporter Chris Nakamoto.
Chris Nakamoto and the Investigative Unit. Recipients of Columbia University's prestigious DuPont Award.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Make this summer your backyard party year with Chris's Specialty Foods. Wings, burgers, brisket, steak, and boudin, plus great Cajun side dishes. We do all the prep, and you enjoy laughing with friends and family. Chris's Specialty Foods, Millerville, New Orleans, Prairieville, and Frisco.
Everybody loves Chris's authentic Cajun meat.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Colts running back Zach Moss suffered a broken arm in today's training camp practice. He is second on the team's depth chart behind Jonathan Taylor. The Colts contemplating putting Taylor on the non-football injury list due to back pain deemed to be from an injury not sustained while playing for the team. But Taylor said on social media he never had back pain, never reported any back pain. Taylor wants out of Indy, but don't expect owner Jim Irsay to grant that trade request, believes ESPN's Marcus Spears.
Now they won't, because he'll flex his muscle as an owner, and he'll let Jonathan Taylor know, I control where you go and what you do in the future, which is what the league has been, but it's damn sure unfair.
Broncos receiver KJ Hamler diagnosed with a mild heart irritation. Team waived him with a non-football illness designation to let him undergo treatment and potentially bring him back later if he's cleared. That news coming after Denver receiver Tim Patrick's believed to have suffered a season-ending torn Achilles at practice. Shohei Ohtani's show rolls on tonight when he and the Angels visit the MLB-leading Braves, 7:15 Eastern, ESPN+.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your motorcycle, RV, boat, ATV, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
That's right.
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Yusso. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you are driving home with us. It's awful weather in the area as well. So if you're out and about, be safe, man. Buckle up, arrive safely. Saints' first full day of full pads at camp on Monday. Our friend Maddy Hudak was there covering it. She's with us now. Maddy, thanks as always. How are you?
I'm doing good. I just had a moment where I'm thinking, oh, the weather's fine here, forgetting you guys are in a completely different area than I am. So,
and that is certainly how this state goes. You could be 5 miles away, and it could be torrential, and sometimes that's how it goes. But I would assume today it was hot at camp, but first day of full pads. Overall, what was the vibe like there?
So I actually didn't notice they were in pads for a while, and I at one point turned to Brooke Kirchhoffer and asked, is it just me or do they all look a little slow and behind? And then she pointed out that they had the pads on. So I think you're kind of used to a little more physicality when they put pads on, but I have been sitting here thinking just how different some of these climates for training camp are, because when you put pads on in New Orleans heat, it just kind of makes you slow down a little bit, I think, and get used to that. So there were a little looser coverage moments today that I probably could attribute it to that, and a little bit more drops than we were used to as well. And finally, Dennis Allen had said after practice that these practices have been shorter because of the CBA, and so that kind of made sense in line with it being a little rush seeming and just not feeling like it ever really got going. But there's still really good competition, and I think that really says more, given that there was kind of an obvious physical thing going on.
Maddy, one of the things that apparently, and look, obviously wasn't there today, but when I'm following Twitter and looking at a lot of the different things that come out, were about Jimmy Graham. And I'm curious if there's a spot for Graham on this team. Is there a spot for 4 tight ends? But when you have a day like apparently he did today, it makes you more wonder, like, how do you not keep a guy like that? So walk us through it. What was so impressive about Jimmy Graham today?
There was this one really physical contested catch where I think him and Troy Pride, he kind of just tossed these 2 guys to the side, and it reminded me almost of the George Kittle stomp where he dragged 2 Saints players on his face mask kind of thing. A little nicer to see, though, when that offensive player is, presumably going to be on the Saints. I've been thinking a lot about them carrying multiple tight ends, but you just think about the fact that he has looked smaller and he's a little, getting back into shape, and still able to just kind of throw guys off of him with little to any effort that it seems whatsoever. And just his 6'7" stature really standing out today and getting in on a lot of blocking sets as well. I feel like I kind of joked about this at first, but yeah, he's kind of on the older side, but he has a lot of time in this system, to be honest. And you can kind of tell that familiarity almost up front. And just, again, the fact that he's still getting back into this, and it elicited, a huge roar from the crowd that was back there today. Good for the people that are coming out to these really hot practices, but they got a certain show today with Jimmy Graham out there.
How might he compare or contrast with Juwan Johnson, who are both, correct me if I'm wrong, Maddy, but similar stature, at least in height, and then both sort of perceived as the more pass-catching tight end. So how do the two compare or contrast?
Well, it's a good question because now I'm thinking, and you really haven't seen that much from Juwan Johnson kind of since Jimmy Graham has come along. And Taysom actually got quite a bit of snaps at tight end today, going on these one-on-one wide receiver, tight end, defensive back drills, what have you. So it's kind of hard to see the depth chart there. And it's kind of just hard to project about Jimmy at this point. It's only been very limited time seeing him. I would just kind of have to see what they do when there's more than one tight end in there, and what, when we get into the 2-minute offense situations and they actually start running down the field, who's kind of regularly in that lineup that might give us a little more information. But I wasn't seeing Juwan Johnson kind of just swinging guys off him the way that Jimmy Graham did today again. And so I'll just kind of go back to the Jeremy shocking notion of if he just gets behind a down marker, turns around and sits, that solves a lot of the issues on the offense from last year. Juwan Johnson might be able to do that, but I think Jimmy Graham has a little bit of height on him, and that might make the difference in those complete contested catch situations where he might not be able to get as much separation as he did before, but it just might not matter.
She's on Twitter at Maddy Hudak _94. That's Hudak. Give her a follow. I've also been seeing a lot of pop off about Jake Haener. I haven't asked you yet about the rookie quarterback. What have been your observations so far?
He's looked really good. It's hard to ignore that he's looked a little farther on than some of the developmental prospects that have come through here. Now, maybe that's kind of a byproduct of being with his mentor and Derek Carr and just kind of feeling that familiarity. But he looks strong at rookie minicamp, and it just looks like he's still throwing with confidence. He processes really quickly, and he's trying out some of these more difficult throws during training camp, which is what you'd like to see. It doesn't seem like he's kind of worried about not getting rostered, if that makes sense, where he's actually trying to just kind of air things out and try a little harder, make those mistakes early on, but it's good to see them all throwing with that confidence. And you almost don't notice when they switch quarterbacks, which is a huge thing compared to the last couple of years where there's kind of been just a mess going on there. But the fact that it's run really well with Jameis Winston in there as well. But yeah, Jake Haener, it stands out how short he is. But he definitely has that command to, command the huddle, and you can just see the vision there for him. It's just really good development from all the quarterbacks so far.
Anything else? I know coming into camp, Maddy, we were going to keep a real close eye on the receivers because there's so many numbers there, right? Anybody catching your eye early?
Not necessarily the best answer, but Michael Thomas is kind of the answer to me. Just watching him go up in these one-on-one drills against Marshawn Lattimore and seeing the competition level on both sides, especially really in that one-on-one defensive back wide receiver drill that we were kind of treated to in front of our face today. And the fact that, again, all these throws are being made. And you just see the conversations with Michael Thomas and Derek Carr almost after every snap, even if he doesn't throw to him. So I'm talking a lot to Alvin Kamara, too, who's also really stood out. So was Rashid Shaheed. I think all these guys have had their moments. I believe it's A.T. Perry?
Yeah, A.T. Perry from Wake Forest. Yeah.
A.T. Perry. Yeah. He's had, really strong catches here and there, but it's just kind of those familiar guys that you're used to seeing kind of going as those primary looks. But I will just go back to, again, what we were talking about these last couple of off seasons. I guess you had Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry out there this time last year. So I do say that all with hesitancy because I understand that injuries happen, things happen. The fact that Olave has almost become somewhat of background noise, not in a bad way, but just to say that there's so many people to look at that you almost kind of forget about guys one day or another.
I got two more for you. Maddy Hudak is with us, Saints camp correspondent, doing a great job with us all throughout Saints training camp. Andrus Peat left with injury today, and obviously you kind of hold your breath because of last week whenever we saw Trey Turner go out on Friday, same spot there on the interior. Any update on Andrus Peat? Anything you can tell us about that situation?
Well, he told us after practice it was, calf injury, to which someone responded, is this the same kind of calf injury that happened to Turner last week? To which he said no, but that's, again, kind of all the speak that we got about the situation. But it's unfortunate because Andrus Peat doesn't exactly have a strong reputation for, being able to withstand an entire season at this point. And so it is a little worrisome. That being said, to see James Hurst and Trevor Penning be the options that they slot in, we saw a little bit of Throckmorton and someone else at one point at left guard. The name is blanking, but it did feel a little less frantic than what we've seen these last couple of weeks of switching guys all across the line, just to be able to see Hurst at that guard role, to see Penning get snaps there too, and see the right side of the line with Ramczyk as well being out there, which we hadn't really seen the last couple of days. So maybe that's always something that they're always kind of accounting for. If, Ryan Ramczyk and Cesar Ruiz that one day took their rest day, didn't look like anyone did today, and so they were able to kind of absorb that Andrus Peat injury relatively easily.
Okay. By the way, for those who are watching us, I did just show a video there of Pete limping off. That video is courtesy of Brooke Kirchhoffer, who tweeted it, so I want to make sure we give attribution to Brooke for that video at NewOrleans.football. Last thing for you, Maddy. Marshawn Lattimore, apparently having a great camp so far. I think there's always the question whenever you and I have talked about this before, but when someone's doing really well at camp, it's like, all right, is it a product of one side of the ball being good or the other side of the ball being not so good? It's always that sort of conflict that you don't know until you play someone else. What are your thoughts on Lattimore so far in camp?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say with someone like Lattimore, I'm less worried about whether or not training camp is providing him competition, and I should kind of be worried about that.
Right.
I know that there's been this perception of Lattimore trying some matches, not trying so hard the other ones. I think last year kind of dispelled that narrative. But again, when you have someone like Michael Thomas that you're going up against every single day at practice and being thrown to by someone like Derek Carr, I think it's kind of hard to separate the fact that the quarterback room has looked strong. Guys like Marshawn Lattimore have looked really strong, and so have guys like Michael Thomas. All of that, to me, just comes from really strong play going on all sides of the ball. Like I said, we haven't seen as many kind of, drills where they stay in the same type of offense, get into a rhythm, and see how they fare in that kind of situation. But the plays that he's made one-on-one, being able to just disrupt Michael Thomas on a route in general is easier said than done. And we saw him just kind of bully guys last year and almost kind of feel like there wasn't enough competition on the other side. Well, he definitely has a counterpart in Lattimore, and he's broken up passes for him, Shaheed, and just several other guys, and has been really just a star every day of camp.
Maddy Hudak, give us our Saints camp reports every day. The black and gold are out there. Make sure you follow her on Twitter at Maddy Hudak _94. Maddy, we appreciate it as always. Thanks. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks, guys.
All right, be well. It is after further review. We got a beep in there. Did you hear it? I know Muse looked up.
I heard it.
I'm curious if that was her call waiting. I'll need to ask her off air. I didn't want to disrupt the flow, but if you missed it last year, Maddy was doing one of these segments with us, and her cheek hit the button, one of the buttons on the phone. It was like a dozen.
14 times.
Yeah, in one interview. So it was just it became an ongoing bit throughout the entire season last year with Maddy and the beeps. So we'll have to check. Was that a cheek beep or was that a call waiting beep? We'll have to follow up with Maddy. We'll send our crack investigative unit in there. We'll get Nakamoto on it. Find out. All right, it's after further review, y'all. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll continue. The Big 12 has apparently let some of their targets be known as who they would like to add to get to 14. Realignment not done in college football. We'll continue. It's AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where it's always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-0001, 752-0001, or 1hourbr.com. That's where you can find them online. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. Look, when it's when you're talking about triple-digit temps and the heat index is creeping higher than that, River City's 1 Hour Air is who you want to call if you have trouble with your home central AC. Wally Rivette did that, and I'm telling you, whenever you read these 5-star Google reviews, you understand why so many do. Iris Neff called and said, River City is the best. My technicians are always awesome. Each time they come, we'll definitely use them again and again. Cody went above and beyond today to make sure we would have air over the weekend. He didn't have the part we needed, being it was the weekend, but he did not hesitate to leave and come back with it, not only one window unit, but came back with 2 window units so we could be cool over the weekend. Thanks again to Cody. This company is just amazing. I love it. Johnny and Iris Neff. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. 752-0001, whether always on time or you don't pay a dime.
This summer, retirement is a state of mind. Whether it's a mid-morning activity or an early bird special, grab a Coors Light and chill like you're retired.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like Hudco, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Call 288-8138 or visit reliefwindows.com.
I cruise along here on a Monday. Really quickly, if you're in the Baton Rouge area or Lafayette, there was awful weather that moved through, and actually I'm seeing alerts come through. There's more awful weather coming through. Full disclosure, you all know I'm a part of Hudco, and so we have a Hudco text chain, and there are pictures all over, particularly the Oak Hills area, Trees down, trees on people's homes. There's hail, apparently heavy hail in the Lafayette area. I'm just putting this out there that our crews are out there helping people with things like tree removal and stuff like that right now. So if you do have any issues, first of all, obviously, most importantly, please be safe. It's worth noting just as a PSA, like down power lines, do not touch them, do not go near them. Things that are probably common sense, but just to be very careful and alert. We're sitting in a studio with no windows, so I obviously can't see, but I'm getting a thread of these images of what our crews are seeing right now. So be careful, and if you do need help, let us know. In the 225, it's 364-1007, 364-1007, or HUDCOroofing.com. Okay, I'll sort of just clumsily transition if I can. Our buddy John Canzano, for those that don't know, John Canzano for a long time worked for the Oregonian. He's one of the many who have gone independent now, has his own website, but he is one of the sort of foremost reporters in the Pacific Northwest. He's there in Portland and does afternoon drive radio there as well. So John, all that to say, John is very reputable. When LSU was opening up against Oregon back in 2011, John and I did a lot of reciprocal radio. He came on our show a good bit. I would go on his show. So anyway, John is reporting that the Pac-12 has a really big 48 hours ahead. Within the next 48 hours, the Pac-12 media deal is set to be presented. San Diego State apparently could still join in time for the 2024 season. And apparently, there's a possibility about SMU joining the Pac-12 as well. Let me unpack this here for a second if I can. And with everything, I always like to explain why it's important to you. I mean, we're in the SEC. Why would you care about the Pac-12? I think when it comes to issues of realignment, we all understand why this is relevant. Because you're talking about the structure and shape of college football. Is there going to be a Power 5 after this? Does the Pac-12 fold? Do more schools leave the Pac-12 for the Big Ten or the Big 12? If so, does that strengthen the Big 12? What does that mean for playoff bids? All that sort of stuff that we've talked about that does affect you, in essence, because it affects the structure and shape of college football. So, of note, obviously, in the next 48 hours, within 48 hours, they're anticipating a media deal presented to the member institutions. Now, I don't know how in the world any media partner could step up and offer a rights deal not knowing who the members of your league are going to be. Now, maybe you offer that with the contingency of who the members are, with the possibility of altering if more members come in or if somebody leaves. But if, let's say, Arizona or leaves to the Big 12 or Oregon leaves, what is the value? The value of that media rights deal changes dramatically. So, but if a media rights deal is presented and the Pac-12 can't agree on it, that would, in theory, stabilize the Pac-12 if all of these schools who have signed away their grant rights agree to a restructured deal, because now they can't leave scot-free. Remember, the reason the timing matters so much is Colorado leaving the Pac-12. The Pac-12 media rights deal expires after this season, so Colorado is leaving without having to pay an exit fee. That's why that is so significant with respect to the timing. Now, if the Pac-12 does add schools, the two that seem to be maybe the most in line are San Diego State and SMU. San Diego State is really interesting because, remember, it was just a few months ago, last month, that San Diego State had requested from the Mountain West permission to leave early, which was denied. But then the Pac-12 did not formally extend an invitation to San Diego State. So just a month ago, the Pac-12 slammed the door in San Diego State's face in a very embarrassing kind of public way. But now the Pac-12, having lost Colorado, they're down to 9 schools for next year after USC, UCLA, and Colorado leave. Their 12 becomes 9. They're looking to add schools, and San Diego State is the one that keeps them sort of regionally in the Southwest and in Southern California, so that sort of makes sense. But in order for San Diego State to be added to the Pac-12 for 2024, they would owe the Mountain West $34 million. And so apparently maybe what John Canzano is reporting is that the Pac-12 could be willing to step up and help San Diego State alleviate some of that cost to be able to get into the Pac-12 sooner. And then there's, of course, the question of SMU. But would the Big 12 be interested in SMU? Regionally, it makes sense. You're in Houston with the University of Houston. Do you get Dallas-Fort Worth? In addition to, obviously, you have TCU already, but do you take SMU? Well, this is just fascinating times. Now, it's kind of a race against the clock here, because if the Pac-12 is moving quickly to get their new deal on the table within 48 hours, does the Big 12 move just as quickly with an option for, say, Arizona or another school to join? So here are kind of the questions to consider. Number one, Arizona appears to be the top priority for the Big 12. If they're able to add Arizona, what does that mean for Arizona State? Both Arizona and Arizona State are part of the same Board of Regents, along with Northern Arizona. So could Arizona leave without Arizona State? I don't know that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be in the know about what's connected politically in the state of Arizona with those universities. What I can tell you is I had many conversations during the last major round of realignment about Duke and North Carolina and Virginia Tech. And what was pretty clear is that they weren't splitting up. So if you took one, you were taking both. And that's for the SEC in the future. If there ever is an opportunity to expand and involves those schools, it would have to be both, not just one. So Arizona State, would they have to be a package deal? Don't know. And then the other, which this surprised me a little bit, apparently there's been very little interest from Utah in leaving the Pac-12. Now, in some respects, it makes sense because they've won back-to-back conference titles in football. So I guess you'd be content to be there. Of course, the Pac-12 gave Utah its Power 5 opportunity. But then also, if they did jump into the Big 12, they'd be sharing that spotlight in state with BYU, which is giving up its independent status to join the Big 12 this year. So Arizona State, Utah are worth keeping an eye on for the Big 12. Do any of those Pac-12 schools jump, or do they all remain in the Pac-12, and then does the Pac-12 maybe appeal to SMU or San Diego State or somebody else that could, in theory, grow that league back to a respectable number? The interesting thing is that San Diego State is also one of the schools reportedly that is being eyed by the Big 12 if they can't land, if the Big 12 can't lure another Pac-12 school. If they have to go to group of 5 options, apparently UConn, San Diego State, UNLV, and Memphis are the 4 that are being mentioned. So UConn gets you geographically into the Northeast, great basketball program, and Jim Mora is doing a nice job with the football program. San Diego State, all the reasons that we just mentioned there. If UNLV were to join the Big 12, that gets you into the Las Vegas market, which keeps expanding further. And with, obviously, the Raiders, it looks like they're going to be able to attract the A's there as well for professional baseball. UNLV football plays at Allegiant Stadium, the home of the Raiders, so there's some intrigue there. And then Memphis, a decade ago, Memphis looked like they would be a no-brainer as far as a team that amid realignment would be able to join a Power 5 league. But after Mike Norvell, the football program hasn't been as great. They were snubbed, Memphis was, by the Big 12 when the Big 12 added 4. The Big 12 added Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, BYU. They passed on Memphis. So would Memphis potentially be a Big 12 option this go-around or a Pac-12 option? Just the ones worth keeping an eye on. So, again, according to John Canzano up there in Portland, a pretty pivotal 48 hours, a critical 48 hours ahead for the Pac-12. Can they get their media deal presented? Will the current member institutions be on board, or does Arizona or another school or schools jet the Pac-12 for greener pastures. Stay tuned. All right, it's After Further Review. Brought to you by DraftKings, official sports betting partner of AFR. So appreciative of our partnership here with DraftKings, who've been awesome to us over the years since sports betting, mobile sports betting went live in Louisiana. And listen, if you want to get more out of the game, from the gridiron to the diamond and beyond, DraftKings Sportsbook is the best place to do it. If it's moneyline bets, if it's futures bets, props and parlays, the DraftKings Sportsbook has all of them for you. You can take a shot at huge wins. So here's what you do. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. New customer, use the promo code Baton Rouge. Bet $5 on anything. Any money line, any prop, any parlay, future bet, whatever. Bet $5 on anything, and instantly they'll give you $150 in bonus bets just for betting $5 on anything right now. Plus, all customers, new and existing, you can take your winnings to the next level with DraftKings same-game parlays. When you go to the app, there's a little tab that says opt-in. You slide the opt-in tab, and then you can take your shot at an even bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. It's the DraftKings Sportsbook. Use the promo code Baton Rouge. Again, new customers get $150 in bonus bets instantly just for betting $5 on anything. That's only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with the promo code Baton Rouge. 21 and older, physically present in Louisiana. Select parishes only. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/baseball terms. Licensed partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-426-2537. All right, it's After Further Review. In just a moment, we'll come back, and I do want to talk about we'll sort of reset the recruiting week. LSU picked up 2 commitments this weekend, both on the offensive line. And last hour, we had Sam Spiegelman, national recruiting analyst, with On 3 with us, kind of put some context around it. We'll sort of reset that for those who maybe are just knocking off of work, jumping in the car, driving home. We'll get you filled in on all of that. Also, a starting quarterback in the Big Ten says an SEC program offered him $1.5 million to hit the transfer portal. I have an idea of who it is, and it might surprise you. That's next. It's AFR.
AFR.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,500 off MSRP on all new 23 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Call 288-8138 or visit reliefwindows.com.
A bunch of teams had reached out last year, and I talked to Jimmy Sexton, and just made it clear that if I don't retire as a Saint, then I wasn't going to play again. So that was kind of the determination.
That's Jimmy Graham. Met with reporters over the weekend at Saints camp and said point blank, he told his agent, Jimmy Sexton, if I don't retire as Saint, I'm not playing again. Forgive me, y'all. There's just a lot of dynamics here that are tough to unpack. Play number one, he went on to say, this ain't the first time. The Saints traded Jimmy Graham back in 2015. And Graham has basically said since 2015, he has been trying to come back to New Orleans.
I've been trying to come home for a long time. And last year, had some conversations and determined that I really didn't want to play anywhere else. I had a couple teams that were reaching out. All teams that made the playoffs, and I just couldn't see myself wearing another jersey again. And just wanted, hopefully, if there was ever opportunity to come back home, to make it happen here, and it did, and I'm here now.
In his career, Jimmy Graham has made his contracts. Let me rephrase this: his contract values are approaching $100 million. His rookie deal was worth $2.4 million. Remember, he was a third-round pick, so the 4 years, $2.5 million, roughly. He played 1 year under the franchise tag at $7 million. He was, as we all remember, he was signed to the franchise tag, or he was tagged, and then ultimately the Saints did sign him to a 4-year, $40 million contract, and then promptly traded him to Seattle. So he played out that contract, then signed a 3-year, $30 million deal, and then a 2-year, $16 million deal with Chicago. My point is, Jimmy Graham's made a buttload of money. I don't know if he's good with his money, if he spent it. I don't know. By all accounts, seems like he's done well and good for him. But he has made a ton of money. He obviously loved being in New Orleans. It was the most productive years of his career. But then he was traded, and that feels like it would be very human to let that be contentious, right? you gave your all for this franchise. You wanted a long-term deal. They went to arbitration over the franchise tag. Ultimately, the Saints said, done. And they traded him. We can have the debate over who won that trade and time and whatever. I mean, that's a debate we could have or a conversation either way. But in spite of that, being cast away, it wasn't like he chose to leave in free agency. They traded him. But he still refers to New Orleans as home. That he's been trying to come back and wouldn't have played for anybody else. He was asked to sort of remember what it was like 8 years ago when he was traded. Here's what he said.
For me, it was pretty shocking, honestly. I thought I would never leave this place, and obviously it's a business. This league's a business, and I woke up to the part of the business that hurts. So for me, it was very difficult, but I didn't know I was going to a Super Bowl contender, and I know I had the opportunity to possibly make a run at a ring, and that's always been a goal for me, but definitely moving across the country was a little different, but at first, it was very difficult because because my connection with Drew, as an older brother and all the people in this building, it was a family, so for me, a guy that doesn't have a lot of family, it was definitely a difficult time.
I mean, Drew Brees isn't here anymore. The only guy still on the roster that was here when Jimmy Graham was is Cam Jordan. So he's coming back to a very different situation. So, and if you remember, you talked about a guy not having a lot of family. If you remember the story, Jimmy Graham was adopted, and you dealt with a lot of that insecurity, and it's part of the reason why he did attach himself so much to Drew Brees. I mean, it's a fascinating story, and you feel very good for that young guy who brought himself from a tough upbringing to achieve great things. It's just the fact that Jimmy Graham holds no resentment or ill will, and as a matter of fact, it's the complete opposite. It's a 180 from that. That he said he spent all this time trying to get back to New Orleans and told his agent, if it ain't New Orleans, I'm not playing again. Is a little just counter-cultural to what we expect in sports now, where you have ego and bravado and a lot of hurt feelings that accompany a lot of these deals. And guys carry resentment and use it as fuel and motivation to play against their former team and beat them. And Jimmy Graham saying, man, I just kept trying to get back here. I mean, it's easy. My point is, I don't know what my point is, quite honestly. I think I'm just confused. It's very easy to pull for this guy. That's number one. He was a great player when he was here. He gave his all. He played hurt at times and hated to leave and kept trying to come back, which makes you want to embrace him even more. But in such an ultra-competitive industry where guys carry their egos with them. I mean, by contrast, look at the current situation going on with the Sean Payton, Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers thing. Like, Sean Payton making the comments he did about Nathaniel Hackett and the Jets has caused this, week-long windfall of war of words in the media. Now they're looking forward to week 5, and when the Jets go to Denver and, Rodgers is quoting Will Smith about keep my coach's names out your mouth, and, it's become a whole damn thing. Meanwhile, Jimmy Graham is like, man, I just always wanted to come back here. It's just maybe the thing that's so striking about it is that it is so atypical in a professional sports culture to have a guy handle the situation Jimmy Graham has. And hell, I hope it works for him, man. I hope he makes the team. I hope he has an awesome year at age 36, helps lead the Saints to a Super Bowl. I'm not sure I believe that's the reality, but boy, what a story that would be. Really interesting. I mean, 8 years later, he's answering questions like the thing happened yesterday. Few people have had that type of impact where that story could be told that many years later. I mean, like we didn't have this conversation about Malcolm Jenkins. I mean, the Saints let Malcolm Jenkins walk in free agency to Philly, and then ultimately brought him back. And Sean Payton acknowledged one of the biggest mistakes he ever made was letting Malcolm Jenkins go to Philly, because ultimately they signed Jarvis Byrd. How did that work out? I guess you can't go home. Jimmy Graham back in the black and gold. What a fascinating story. All right, we got some more breaking news on all the conference realignment stuff. We'll come to that in a second. Remind you about Mold Zero. Mold-0USA.com. Mold-0USA.com. It's their patented non-toxic dry fog. If you have water in your home, if you have mold in your home, if you have odors, other pathogens, Mold Zero. What a great solution. A more cost-effective, less invasive way to clear your home of mold and other pathogens, harmful pathogens, and odor. Mold-0USA.com is the website. You can get your free estimate. You can learn more, serving all of South Louisiana. Mold-0USA.com. You want to learn more about their patented non-toxic dry fog treatment? You can. Just get to the website. You can learn about the treatment there. You can see pictures and videos. You can read the entire, if you're interested, you can read the entire U.S. Army Corps of Engineers survey and study that they did on this Mold Zero treatment. It works. It's incredible. It's patented technology. Mold-0USA.com. Mold-0USA.com. Okay, a little bit of breaking news here. This is from On3 Sports. The University of Arizona has scheduled a Board of Regents meeting for 5:30 Eastern on Tuesday. So that'll be 4:30 Central Time. And that we would presume is to discuss a possible exit of the Pac-12 to the Big 12. So we know last week, of course, the big news, Colorado leaving the Pac-12 for the Big 12, joining USC and UCLA and leaving the Pac-12. So for 2024, as it stands presently, the Pac-12 will have 9 teams. And as of tomorrow, it could be 8 if Arizona does, in fact, decide to leave the Pac-12 for the Big 12 as well. And could that mean even more? Once those gates open, is there going to be anything left for the Pac-12 to salvage? And we'll find out. But big news tomorrow. It'll happen while we're on air. Okay, it's after further review. Let me knock out our final break of the show. We'll come back, wrap up with a little what we learned. Stick around here at AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. As a matter of fact, I'm excited. I'm going to go downstairs when we finish the show here. I'm going to walk by the front desk. Got me an 88 Reasons to Rally hat waiting for me downstairs. Appreciate Lauren and the marketing team over at Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys for hooking up your boy. Tell you every day to get Gordon and get it done. You can go to @GetGordon on any of the social media accounts to find out what's going on with Gordon and the whole team over there. They always have great content as well with members of the G team. Really good sit down with Greg Brooks, and also a cool sit down, the Grubbin with G series that Gordon is doing with a lot of the members of the G team. A really cool sit down he did with Harold Perkins. I would highly recommend you go check it out. Harold Perkins talks about how he quit football in high school, was going to focus on basketball. Anyway, kind of content you get there. Go to @GetGordon on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. Follow all the Gordon accounts @GetGordon. Of course, if you've been injured, it's not your fault. You need representation. Go to getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This summer, retirement is a state of mind. Whether it's a mid-morning activity or an early bird special. Grab a Coors Light and chill like you're retired.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Get 3.99% financing on select 2023 models at Corval Toyota in Opelousas. And we also have a large selection of pre-owned inventory. So come on.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Call 288-8138 or visit reliefwindows.com.
All right, down the stretch we come. Final segment here on a Monday edition of AFR presented by Relief Windows. Appreciate our friends over at Relief Windows. Of course, Brandon, Holly, and the gang do awesome work. Windows, doors, siding, energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank and vinyl siding. It's Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. Jimmy is still on vacation. My understanding is that the Otter will be back from Del Mar on Thursday. So we'll resume Otter Locks on Thursday, and we'll get to what we learned here in just a quick second. Earlier today, Sam Spiegelman was with us from On3, national recruiting analyst. If you missed it, huge recruiting weekend for LSU. Tigers picked up two commitments, two offensive line commitments. And, you know, I look at the way that they're piecing together this recruiting class, 4 now on the offensive line. And I get excited whenever I see Brian Kelly land offensive line commitments, because he's just shown he can do that at an elite level, recruit and develop commitments at an elite level. And they got 2 more, Ori Williams out of the state of Texas, and then Joseph Cryer, who was an Ole Miss commit from Louisiana, Natchitoches Central, decommitted from Ole Miss when he got the LSU offer and flipped his commit to LSU today. So LSU now up to 22 commits for the class of 2024. But it wasn't just those guys. There were some major national prospects, including the number 1 player in the country in Colin Simmons. Sam Spiegelman, national recruiting analyst from On3, was with us and talked about him.
LSU did not have a really big June in terms of a nationally big official visit weekend. For LSU, they take a different approach. In that case, they fell behind with some of these recruitments. Colin Simmons and Dominic McKinley in particular. 2 of their priority targets, one obviously being the number 1 edge in the country, Colin Simmons from Duncanville, and Dominic McKinley, the 5-star defensive lineman out of their backyard in Acadiana. I can tell you after this visit, leading into the whole summer, the recruitment around Dominic McKinley has been about the out-of-state schools being front and center, namely Texas, but also a lot of buzz about Oklahoma. I can tell you after this weekend, LSU has closed that gap tremendously. I would say it's an LSU-Texas race right now, and a decision probably isn't too far off. And I think, you're LSU, you have to like where you are compared to where you were this time last week.
If you missed our chat with Sam Spiegelman, you can catch it on demand, AFR On Demand, presented by Breck Golf. By the way, I had a great meeting with our friends at Breck today. They are hitting all-time records for rounds played at all of the Breck courses right now. They've done a masterful job of just upgrading all the courses. Of course, J.S. Clark has reopened the 9-hole course. Book your tee time at golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org. If you missed Sam Spiegelman, Maddy, Hudak with our Saints report, talked about the 2 commitments they got. The Saints roster turnover, 2 players out, 2 players in today. It's all there on demand or at the After Further Review YouTube channels or however you get your podcast. Just search After Further Review. All right, Muse, what did you learn today?
Arch Manning. More valuable than Luka Doncic already?
How about that, man? So Arch Manning had a one-of-one Panini card that sold at auction on the Panini website, sold for $102,500, which beats the Panini record sold on their site. A Luka Doncic card, a one-of-one that sold for $100,000. How about that? Betting on the come.
Pretty wild, man.
With young Arch there. Paulie, what did you learn today?
I learned that Pac-Man Jones adopted Chris Henry Sr.'s son.
What a cool story. And so Chris Henry Jr. is now committed to Ohio State. And by the way, tip of the cap, somebody sent me a text. It was Richard Bruce, who said Pac-Man actually adopted both of Chris Henry's sons. He said he's been on the Pat McAfee show, talks about them often, had his troubles, but he's a great guy. So shout out to Pac-Man. I mean, what a really cool thing to do.
What did you learn, Matt?
Arizona, Board of Regents meeting tomorrow, 4:30 Central Time. We could tomorrow have the next giant domino fall in conference realignment, which could very well be Arizona leaving the Pac-12 to go to the Big 12. We'll be here for it. Muse, Paulie, I appreciate you. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 3.
AFR.
As we get on down the road, remind you about South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com, new and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com. That's southpointvw.com. Had a conversation this weekend. I always tell you about the brand new Volkswagens. Remember, every new Volkswagen comes with 2 years of free maintenance from South Point Volkswagen. If you're in Lafayette, remember, Southwest Volkswagen is there for you as well. But if you're looking for a safe first vehicle for a new driver, as we start getting close to the school year, maybe your son or daughter is going to be driving to school for the first time, a great selection of certified Volkswagens. All are 5-star safety rated, all with the factory warranty, locally owned and operated. Go check out our friends over at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland, Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. Airline just north of Highland, or shop online at southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. For South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction?
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Bayou Ford has $8,000 off MSRP, plus 1.9% financing on new 23 Ford F-150 XLT trucks, along with Bayou Ford's 1 million-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.